Chapter 271, Battle Between Teams. The tentacles of the octopus were as large as pillars. They frenziedly smacked over, creating black shadows and causing huge waves to rise. The violent force in the tentacles blasted over, and Feng Lin's team of 5 had to retreat. Hand over all of your spoils of war obediently. If you make us act personally, all of you would have dire endings, spoke a member from that team coldly. They had set their sights on Feng Lin's team and targeted them since some time ago. Since Feng Lin's team had just ended a battle, they must be exhausted. This was the best time to eat them up. Or so they thought. Little baby, let them have a taste of what you can do. A tall and muscular armored man patted the octopus beneath him and laughed malevolently. The octopus moved its tentacles wildly, causing a whirlpool that shot toward them. Their team members simply stood there, not showing any signs that they would act at all. It was like they could already see Feng Lin's team being dominated by their pet. Octopus? Feng Lin coldly glanced at it. This octopus monster was as large as a giant ship, its head was protected by a layer of bone and it looked grotesque. Its then opened maw was like a black hole. For ordinary cultivators, they would definitely try to retreat when they saw this. But they were dead wrong if they thought that this monster would be able to deal with Feng Lin. Feng Lin wasn't scared at all. Beast King might. Feng Lin's eyes narrowed as a formless aura gushed forth from him. Blood, coldness, brutality, this was a killing intent that was cultivated by endless slaughter. It directly shot into the mind of the octopus. If his target was a human, things would be much better. They would only feel the atmosphere turned extremely tense and heavy. However, a beast's instinct for danger was much more sensitive in comparison. The octopus instantly felt that something was wrong. The two saucer-like large eyes of the octopus widened as its tentacles stiffened up. After awakening the Beast King gene, Feng Lin was like a Beast King in human form. It was not a wonder this octopus monster didn't dare to offend him. Scram! Feng Lin yelled. The octopus acted as if it had met its natural predator. It shrieked in fear and moved its tentacles wildly, diving into the water and fleeing immediately. Its violent movements caused the waves to churn wildly. The owner of the octopus and his team didn't manage to react in time. They instantly sank inside the water and got drenched like wet chickens. Stop! The team's captain barked. The monster froze and gradually calmed down. Feng Lin activated the power of his Beast King gene. His spirit force gushed out, sending tendrils of fear into the octopus's tiny brain. There was also a mental order he sent with this message. Crush them. The eyes of the octopus turned red from the pain it felt in its mind. It instantly ran amok. A moment later, it rushed toward its owner with the intent to kill. Its tentacles were like whips, lashing out at its owner's team. The 5 of them were now in extremely miserable states. What? The captain didn't dare to believe his eyes. The octopus was an aboriginal creature he had managed to subdue after putting in a lot of effort. He didn't expect it to betray him so quickly. This was somewhat unscientific. However, he didn't know that the reason behind its behavior was Feng Lin's Beast King might. The Beast King gene that Feng Lin had awakened would suppress the octopus monster due to the difference in grades. The Beast King gene allowed him to control all beasts, so this was an innate suppression. Any beast would instinctively feel as though they wanted to submit to Feng Lin. As long as the beast was a living creature, it would know fear. Nothing could change this. The water was the octopus monster's home ground. Thus, the enemy kept getting flailed and they finally couldn't endure it any longer, giving in to their rage. Skyfire burning star. That captain slammed his palms on the surface of the water and used the force to propel him into the air. Fiery flames crackled around him, his palms glowed burning red. His entire person was like a shooting star, drilling into the head of the octopus. The fire lines extended to the tentacles, lighting them up. This fire was capable of burning everything. Just a small spark would instantly turn into a raging fire. Within the fire, the octopus screamed in pain. After creating a few splashes, it turned into a charred octopus and sank into the water. "You actually dare to kill my pet," said the captain coldly. After killing his pet ruthlessly, he shifted his target to Feng Lin. Feng Lin simply smiled calmly. These people were so arrogant despite what had just happened. They truly didn't know what was good for them. "I shall let you taste the prowess of us, the Five Elements team." The faces of these people were covered in dirt as all of them cursed venomously. Great river flowing current. A blue-haired strange-looking man lifted his hands. And immediately, a 30-meter-tall wave came crashing down. Absolute frigid wind. One woman stood beside the strange man. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, and she exuded a glacial aura. Their combination attack turned into ice spears that pierced toward Feng Lin's team. These ice spears shone with a cold light, being incredibly sharp. Kakaka. Eris came forward while releasing her tyrant battle aura. All of a sudden, numerous strands of black chi gushed up from the surface of the ground, merging into one corporeal body. A giant battle god in the form of a statue stood there. Its arms were lifted, ready to smash everything beneath it. As a result, the ice spears were shattered and scattered everywhere. Seeing that their previous attacks had ended up in failure, two of the enemy's members threw their attacks in Eris's direction. Earth Prison Pillar. Meteor Fire Rain. Pa, pa, pa. The flames of the meteor formed clusters, falling from the sky and instantly locking onto that battle statue. The tyrant aura dissipated as the statue was damaged. The two types of energy cancelled each other out as Eris's true body appeared within the statue. Grow, grow, grow. At this moment, a roar rang out as a metal cudgel rapidly enlarged. It became as large as a pillar and came swinging out, shattering the flames and ice. Feng Lin already stood before Eris protectively. He couldn't help but notice that the members of the Five Elements team had perfect synergy in their coordination. Wood human art. A green-haired male pierced his hands into the ground as a sapling shot out from the earth. The sapling grew with great speed, becoming a tree giant. Using its roots as legs, it actually took great strides and moved over. On the tree giant, 5 heads could actually be seen. The 5 people of the enemy team leaped on the tree giant and stood at each head respectively. After that, they acted as one entity and started their attack. Wind, wood, water, fire, earth, the power of 5 elements shot out from the mouth of the tree giant, becoming an energy torrent that sought to engulf Feng Lin and his team. From the start until the end, they didn't have any thoughts of discussion. They instantly went for the kill the moment they could. The test was about surviving in a hostile land. Anyone could be enemies, and only the final winner would be the true victor. As long as people from the other teams were eliminated, even if their mission wasn't accomplished, they would also be the final victor. The energy torrent gushed forth like the tides, drowning Feng Lin. Wind, wood, water, fire, earth, the 5 elements. Feng Lin's cudgel spun in the air, creating a metallic wall that blocked the energy attack completely. As for Feng Lin, his body expanded and he became a 10-meter-tall giant, blocking the huge rush of impact. Great Sage overturns the sea. His cudgel smashed the joints on the tree giant's lower limbs, using the principles of a minor force overcoming major resistance. The tree giant instantly lost its balance and slammed onto the ground. It's time for us to act. He roared, firing an arrow. This arrow radiated intense sharpness, and its speed seemed extremely slow. It created intense friction in the air as golden sparks trailed behind it. Golden Crow Descent. A fire crow flapped its wings, leaving behind a line of sparks as it cried out resoundingly. It rushed straight toward the tree giant and a moment later, blazing flames covered it completely, burning it to a crisp. Feng Lin's team rushed over. Are they all dead? Eris asked. Something is wrong. Feng Lin stared at the ashes. After that he roared, "Scram out for me." His spirit force transformed into formless ripples that warped the air. Lines of light dispersed and 5 miserable-looking figures were revealed. These 5 all had faces covered in dirt. They were wearing some unusual clothing that had a layer of phosphorescence which bent light, to create an illusion of invisibility for them. Kill. Kick your opponents while they are down. Feng Lin didn't waste words and directly rushed over. His cudgel shadows filled the sky, enveloping them completely. The 5 Elements team was all consisted of energy attack type cultivators. It was a tragedy for them to encounter Feng Lin. The stone monkey gene had the ability of being impervious to fire and water. Moreover, the spiritual stone monkey gene enhanced this ability to an even higher state, granting him immunity to energy attacks. Their combined elemental attacks looked fierce but were nothing much to Feng Lin. In fact, he could dominate them 1-on-5. This was the tragic fate of meeting someone that was your perfect counter. In the end, Feng Lin's team members didn't really act. The 5 Elements team was completely demolished. They were riddled with injuries and didn't even have any strength left to resist. Feng Lin's team naturally wouldn't be polite. They were originally already enemies that were competing against each other. Even if they had no prior hatred, it was already very kind for him to leave them with their lives. But let them go untouched? Impossible. They took everything in their possessions, including the battle suits. These battle suits were bounded with information of the exam system. The signals they emitted clearly stated that their original owners had lost all combat strength and were eliminated. The 5 Elements team no longer had the qualifications to participate in the battle. They looked extremely miserable, like they had nothing to live for any longer. Feng Lin's team gained great rewards. After that, they didn't hesitate and turned to leave. Level 1 Equipment, Meteor Metal Sword, 3, Icebone Thorn, 2, Blazing Stone, 5. Level 2 Equipment, Damaged Spirit Feather Crown, 2, Damaged Spirit Wind Whip, 3. Level 3 Equipment, Damaged Shirt of Invisibility, 2, Shirt of Invisibility, 3. Water Element Spirit Crystals, 302 pieces. Fire Element Spirit Crystals, 162 pieces. After eliminating a team, Feng Lin's team packed up the spoils. The spiritual qi equipment created by the Aboriginals was accounted for by the Cultivation Association. They could be classified into 5 grades based on their effects and energy coefficient. Level 1 was the lowest and was the most common equipment. Their effect was also the weakest. Level 5 was the highest. They could be called weapons of mass destruction, capable of a mass massacre. Just one of them could turn the tides of an intense battle. For example, quantum extermination gun and death ray grenades. From the 5 Elements team, leaving aside the spirit crystals and other equipment, they already managed to obtain 5 level 3 equipment. This was truly a great harvest. The shirts of invisibility were soft to touch, as gentle as water. They seemed to be manufactured with a special feather-like material. According to Yana, the source of this material was a rainbow bird that was an aboriginal creature on this particular planet. Because the feathers of the rainbow birds were vibrant and multicolored, they were exceptionally beautiful. These birds would often be hunted by other races here, and their feathers would be used to weave the shirts of invisibility. The shirts of invisibility could be used in all environments. They would bend light and allow the user to blend with the surroundings. Although it didn't have any power, its unique characteristics allowed it to be ranked as a level 3 equipment. Instead of spending so much effort to hunt the races here, why don't we just plunder our loot from the other teams? In any case, the other teams here are our enemies. There's no need for us to be polite. Feng Lin grinned. The other 4 had smiles on their faces too. They had the same desire in their hearts. Yana swiftly opened the holographic map and started to make a plan. Look quickly, there's a mountain valley in the shape of a calabash. It's a location we must pass by if we want to head to the three-layer mountain. We can use the shirts of invisibility to plan an ambush there, waiting for prey to fall into our trap. They had all the conditions to plan a successful ambush. Feng Lin and the others felt that this plan was very feasible. They then hurried there and camped quietly for the ambush. They didn't need to wait too long. After some time, another team could be seen moving toward them. This team completely lacked vigilance. Staring at the spiritual crystal equipment that was shining with resplendent light, Feng Lin's team members began to pant with excitement. If one wanted to be wealthy, one had to be a bandit first. Things were getting exciting. Chapter 272, If one wanted to be wealthy, one had to be a bandit first. The light rays were bent, and the shirts of invisibility allowed them to meld perfectly into the surroundings. As there were no traces of their presence, it wouldn't be so easy to discover them. The other team slowly wandered over. They had no idea what was going to hit them as they chatted leisurely. Brothers, let's rush to the three-layer mountain as fast as we can. That place is the territory of the aboriginal Zheng clan. As long as we can seize the spirit crystal bead, we would be number one. It's only a matter of time that we qualified to become Cosmos University's students. Boss, you are right. Let's speed up. They were all extremely eager, wanting nothing more than to sweep aside the other teams with invincibility and advance to the second exam. However, they didn't notice that right now, there were 5 pairs of eyes staring at their every movement, like how tigers would view their prey. Rather than spending so much effort to hunt aboriginals, why don't they plunder loot from other exam candidates instead? This was the quickest method to be wealthy. Things were getting exciting. Level 1 equipment, Frigid Ice Thorn, Thunderfire Bullet, Illusion Light Mirror. Level 2 equipment, Metal Plated Shirt, Gravity Whip. Level 3 equipment, Diamond Helmet. Yana's eyes glowed, as she identified the properties of these people. In Feng Lin's eyes, this team of 5 were like free gifts walking towards him. The other 3 members of the team didn't say anything. Their eyes had a coldness that would cause people to tremble. Feng Lin's team could truly be ruthless. When Yana observed this, she couldn't help but sigh for this enemy team. The moment they took a step into the calabash-shaped mountain valley, their boss, who was up ahead, suddenly stopped. "Boss, what's going on?" someone at the side asked. The boss didn't say anything for a long time, but he could sense the cold intense in the atmosphere. It felt like some terrifying existences were staring right at them. The atmosphere was cold and eerie. However, this feeling vanished after 1 second, like it was an illusion. The boss was extremely puzzled. There should be no reason why he felt that feeling at all. He couldn't make any heads or tails out of it. Nothing. Let's continue. The boss shook his head and prepared to continue heading forward. Swish, swish, swish. At this moment, a sharp sound breaking the air rang out. A total of 5 arrows transformed into silver lines, shot straight towards the 5 targets respectively. The fired arrows were fast, accurate, and ruthless. It was not going to be so easy to avoid them. Pooh. Light radiated forth from 3 of the members, blocking the unavoidable barrows. 3 of their equipment then shattered apart and fell to the ground. The other 2 wasn't so lucky. The arrows penetrated their shoulder and the impact slammed them to the ground. In an instant, this team lost 2 of their members. Even their defensive equipments shattered. The boss shouted in shock, "Someone is ambushing us." The other 4 members of his team hurriedly acted. Even the 2 knocked to the ground by the arrow's impact hurriedly stood up. A skinny man opened his mouth wide, but no sound came out from it. Feng Lin's sharp senses told him that there was a formless sound being spread outwards, covering every inch of the ground in the surroundings. Echolocation. He felt wariness in his heart. Over there. At this time, the skinny man had already discovered their locations. "How dare you ambush us?" the boss roared in rage. His entire body shone with the luster of stone. He punched out repeatedly, with incomparably ferocious moves forcing Feng Lin's team out from their concealment. Invisibility was useless. The echolocation could scan all kinds of frequency using sound waves. Even shirts of invisibility couldn't hide from this ability. The vitality stats of these 5 weren't that high, roughly about 600. This team wasn't strong enough to make Feng Lin and his teammates feel fear. Let's act. Feng Lin roared. His team started to move. After so many battles, their rapport was already honed to a very high level. Swish. Sharp arrows pierced the air, creating a rain of arrows that suppressed their opponents. Tyrant Aura Battle Statue. Eris rushed out, transforming into a giant statue. Under cover from the rain of arrows, she launched attack from a high position, battering the other team so badly that they had no choice but to flee. Mental control. Yana also acted. Her scepter danced in the air, forming invisible shackles that suppressed the mental states of the 5 targets, telling them not to resist. Pa. A formless energy barrier manifested. It turned corporeal and blocked the giant statue's blows and the rain of arrows. 3-loop destruction. At this moment, Su Li instantly acted. Lightning, fire and ice instantly fused together, transforming into a black sphere, containing enough energy within to destroy all living things. The energy barrier instantly collapsed upon contact. Feng Lin moved like lightning. He transformed into a black shadow, rushing straight into the midst of the 5 members from the enemy team. Beast-like fist art. Lion's roar. His eyes gleamed with fury, his chi settled in his dantian. With a thunderous roar, the space trembled as the atmosphere was permeated with the might of 100 beasts, shaking the hearts of everyone, directly shattering the echolocation of that skinny man from before. The 5 enemies felt their eardrums vibrated so much that they got a headache. Tiger pounce, dragon claw, wolf attack. Feng Lin was like a tiger in the midst of lambs. He devastating attacks left behind shocking wounds on the bodies of the 5 enemies. After a short period of time, 3 of the 5 members from the enemy team were knocked down. They lost all combat prowess. Upon seeing this, the other 2 didn't even say anything. They immediately turned and fled in opposite directions. An exam with the basis of survival on dangerous grounds. Even if only one could survive, they had to turtle all the way to the end. Who knows, they might still have a chance to become the victor. If they took the first place, their team would pass this exam. Clearly, they were thinking too much. Feng Lin's team has been camping here waiting for prey to walk in. How could they allow 2 of their targets to escape? Transform, grow. With the empowerment from Feng Lin's heart monkey force, the metal cudgel in his hand turned as flexible and soft as a rope. It expanded swiftly, forming iron chains that shot after the 2 escapees, binding them together, wrapping them up like a mummy, rendering them completely immobile. Feng Lin's group was extremely well coordinated, acting first to suppress their opponents before controlling the battle situation, while Feng Lin moved in for the final kill. Everything was done in one uninterrupted chain. Their opponents had no way to resist. The enemy team of 5 were effortlessly subdued. They were then chained together and stared in shock at their surroundings. They were like little kids who were helpless to resist, even their voices were trembling. Wah, what do you all want? Feng Lin's team of 5 smiled as they walked over, their eyes gleaming with light. Don't. Screams of fear echoed through the mountain valley, filled with terror and despair. After some time, Feng Lin's team left this area with satisfied smiles on their faces. 5 naked figures were left behind and their targets were all trembling in the cold wind. Although they managed to retain their lives, they were already disqualified. After succeeding again, their harvest naturally increased greatly. Other than some general level 1 and level 2 equipments, they obtained 2 more level 3 equipment, the diamond helmets. This was considered a type of armor that was forged from diamond stones that was unique to this spiritual chi planet. The material was incomparably tough, and in times of need, it could be used to block the explosions of scientific-based firearms that were aimed at the head. In addition, there were at least over 100 pieces of spirit crystals of various elements. Feng Lin's team truly became wealthy after that. Next, they repeated their actions and kept plundering the other teams, succeeding 2 more times in a row. They collected even more spiritual chi equipment and gained 2 more types of level 3 equipment, the Qiankuan Mirror and Cloud Ascending Whip. But unfortunately, they didn't know was it because the number of small teams were limited or people started to be more vigilant. No other teams passed by this area. Feng Lin's team camped here for a long time, but no one came by. They could only choose to give this up. Although blocking the path of others, becoming bandits could lead to them being rich. They still had to hunt monsters. After a period of slaughtering monsters, the equipments they looted from other teams showed some signs of damage. If they continued using the equipments for a long period of time, the equipments would probably break apart. Only by hunting aboriginal races would they obtain complete equipments. Above level 3 equipments, there were still level 4 and level 5 equipments. If they wanted to become number 1, it would be tough to succeed without a weapon of mass destruction. If others have it and they don't, during critical times, their team might be completely dominated to the point where they couldn't fight back. Yana, check the map and see if there's any level 4 or 5 equipments being produced nearby. Feng Lin spoke in a low voice. Yana searched through all sorts of information and gave her answer. Right now, the place closest to us is the Cloud Smoke Swamp. That place is one of the top 5 spiritual places in this continent. There are an intelligent aboriginal race there known as the Swamp Fishmen. They can produce level 4 equipments named fish-scale armor. And as for the trident used by the Fishman King, it's a level 5 equipment that could control vast amounts of water element spiritual chi, turning any locations into swamps, marshes or giant lakes. The Fish King Trident. Feng Lin's eyes gleamed. This sort of equipment that could change the terrain could simply be considered a divine weapon. He could turn the battlefield into a place suitable for himself. This was an extremely rare treasure. Let's head there then. Feng Lin made his decision. Yana also nodded. This is a good idea. Although many teams chose to land at the Cloud Smoke Swamp during the airdrop, the number of swamp fishmen exceed tens of thousands, and there are many different races. Their naturals are all extremely brutal. It wouldn't be so easy for the other teams to obtain the equipment. If we go there now, we can even hunt some of the other teams for their equipments. Given our strength, it is highly possible that we can succeed. Everyone nodded after they listened. This was an advantage of having a strategist in the team. The strategist could formulate plans from the information they gain and choose the most appropriate time to seize advantage, allowing the odds of victory to increase tremendously. A team with a strategist is much more useful than those who only rely on brute strength. Feng Lin's team rushed there straight, not wasting time. Very soon, a gigantic swamp that extended endlessly appeared before their eyes. Clouds of mist and smoke could be seen on the swamp's surface, and from afar, it appeared to be like paradise in the mortal world. However, a vivid killing intent could be felt in the surroundings. The surroundings were fogged, their vision could only see haze. No one dared to get near the swamp recklessly. Today is only the second day of the exam. There's still plenty of time, we don't need to be in a rush to go in or we might become the targets of others instead. Yana spoke. Her eyes shone with a penetrating light as she continued. Cloud Smoke Swamp is one of the top 5 spiritual grounds on this continent. Large quantities of spiritual chi equipment can be found here. The other teams would surely target them. We can set our ambushes here and reap the harvests. This was truly a good idea. Blocking the paths of others, becoming bandits, and growing richer and richer. Such an easy way of making money truly could make people feel addicted. Feng Lin's team instantly came to a consensus. They then found a suitable place and prepared their ambush once more, not wanting to waste time. After they are done, they used the spirit crystals as they cultivated. For Feng Lin, his genetic potential plus 1.6, plus 1.6, plus 1.6. His heart and mind sank into a state of silence. There were no distractions at all as his genetic potential kept surging up. Someone is here. All of a sudden, Yana's voice rang out, waking everyone. The eyes of Feng Lin's team glanced over. 3 figures walked towards them from the clouds of smoke and mist, their silhouettes gradually turning from blurry to clearness. Chapter 273, Demon Fox vs Onmyoji. At this moment, the haze faded somewhat, and the team of 3 slowly walked nearer, revealing their true features. They were actually 3 Chinese. But something was strange. They weren't walking in a formation, and wounds could be seen all over their bodies, with fatigue on their faces. The smell of blood from their bodies implied that they had just gone through a bitter fight. However, they didn't dare to pause for rest. They increased their speed as though some dangerous wild beasts were chasing them from the back. Quickly! Or that Japanese team will catch up to us soon. That bunch of bastards. They are truly venomous. After destroying 3 other teams, even 2 of our brothers are killed by them. They were fearful and angry. Their faces had a look of humiliation and hatred, yet they were helpless to do anything. 2 of them have vitality stats around 300 plus and 1 of them around 500 plus. Their combat prowess isn't strong. Do you want to act? Eris sensed their auras as battle intent radiated from her. No rush. Feng Lin stared at the wounds of these people. His eyes flashed as he contemplated. Why? Eris was reluctant to give up these 3 pieces of fatty meat that was already in her mouth. Feng Lin calmly spoke, these 3 are clearly in a plight with no way out. They don't have any valuable items on them and their spiritual chi equipment should be all damaged, not worth much at all. It isn't worth it for us to waste this ambush on them and reveal ourselves. From what they said, there's still a team chasing after them, and that team, the Japanese team, must have already robbed them earlier. The number of treasures that they have would surely be considerable. If we revealed ourselves and the Japanese team spotted us, wouldn't this ambush be a waste? His eyes gleamed with sharpness. That Japanese team must be pretty strong, most probably it wouldn't be easy for us to deal with them, said Yana. Let's watch and see for now, replied Feng Lin, not in a rush at all. If things cannot go according to our plan, we will leave first. There's no need for a head-on clash. Just like what you say, survival is the key to everything in this exam. We must prioritize our survival. If they were speaking of intelligence, he admitted that he wasn't a match for Yana. However, he was decisive and had good judgment. Now that this involved himself, how could he not see things clearly? The other 4 nodded and continued to stay hidden. The crippled 3-man team hurriedly fled into the swamp with anxiousness on their faces. They weren't willing to waste time by slowing down at all. They even had no idea if they would be lucky enough to survive this calamity or not. Feng Lin's team watched them leave. They were like experienced hunters that knew when to let the smaller prey go. They had their sights on the bigger prey. Swish, swish, swish. Soon after, 5 figures appeared. Some of the haze was blown away by the speed of their arrival. Feng Lin's spirit force gushed over as the 5 figures appeared in his perception. 2 of them were ninjas clad in black and had their faces hidden. There were 2 samurai with katana strapped to their waists, and a lanky man that was clad in divine robes and had a crown on his head. Clearly, this man was the leader of this team. Their cultivation bases were all different according to the auras he felt. The 2 ninjas had vitality stats around 500, the 2 samurai had vitality stats around 600, while the leader had vitality stat far surpassing 700. Although that leader, an Onmyoji, had a weak-looking body, his aura was the most terrifying. It was gloomy and ice-like yet as heavy as a mountain. When he exerted his aura, people would feel the heavy pressure bore down on them. Even Feng Lin was no exception. Such an aura indicated that this onmyoji vitality's stats should have at least surpassed 900. He was only one step away from becoming a grand cultivator. This onmyoji should be the strongest person from this team. His combat prowess is exceedingly high, and his vitality stat surpassed all of us. If we don't have a way to deal with him, it's gonna be very tough for us to win against this team, said Yana. We can only use the strategy of Tianji horse racing, said Feng Lin coldly. Use the weakest among us to fight against their strongest, while the other 4 of us will decimate the rest of their team quickly. After that, we will join forces to obtain victory. The key thing is, who should we send? He gazed around. Let me do it. Su Li suddenly spoke. His expression couldn't be seen under the mask, but his eyes shone with a cold light. From the words of the elders of my tribe, I heard that the onmyojis are all capable of controlling ghosts and demons. I want to test his technique out. He took the initiative to volunteer. Feng Lin and the others didn't reject it. Although each of their vitality stats couldn't be considered very high, the paths they were on were all unique ones. Everyone was very confident in themselves. Since Su Li made his decision, if they tried to stop him, that would only be a humiliation to Su Li. The ninja at the lead walked toward the cloud smoke swamp's entrance. He sniffed the air before speaking in a heavy voice, "Umph, they have entered the swamp. Aebkuin, we have to increase our speed. If not, the haze will definitely obstruct our wind chase technique. By then, we won't be able to catch up to those 3 little mice." Right. Koshiro Hattori, you should continue chasing them. The onmyoji's eyes flashed with imperviousness as he commanded. Hi. That ninja respectfully spoke. He traced the bloody smell in the air as his expression turned malevolent. He then shot forward with his arms trailing at his sides, transforming into shadows as that shot off in pursuit. So. Sonic booms could be heard. 10,000 arrows shot out in unison like how a peacock would spread its wings, filling the sky with their shadows. E initiated an attack. The one who attacked first would usually enjoy an advantage. However, the combat strength of these Japanese wasn't weak. They weren't ordinary characters either and instantly reacted to it. What? They were truly experienced and their reaction speed was extremely fast. The ninja that stood at the front, Koshiro Hattori, formed seal gestures and pressed his palms down on the ground. Earth element, earthen wall. The surface of the earth cracked open as a huge amount of mud rose, forming a layer of earthen wall that protected the 5 of them. Piu. The sharp arrows contained a spinning force and were like nails being drilled into the earthen wall, penetrating through it. The impact caused clouds of dust to rise. The barrage of 10,000 arrows wasn't something a single wall could block. Earth element, 3-layered earthen wall. Koshiro Hattori formed seals again, and a 3-layer wall manifested. The toughness of these walls was akin to steel, and only then did his technique manage to block the power of the arrows. However, the wall now had many arrows stuck to it and looked like a hedgehog. Damn, who the hell are you guys? How dare you ambush the noble Yamato nation? Another ninja spoke in rage. He formed hand seals, and a ghostly sinister air erupted from him. Ghost element, earthbound spirit. Wail. The sound of ghosts wailing rang out. It was incomparably mournful. A ghost head as large as a house appeared. The ghost had a malevolent expression that was also filled with agony. Its mouth was like a black hole, and the skeletons in it danced wildly in the air, leaping from the mouth to the ground. Feng Lin's team was directly forced out of invisibility. Despicable bastards. How dare you ambush us? You all must be courting death, roared the ninja. One of the samurai that wore wooden clogs stomped down heavily on the ground as he leaped into the air. Each of his hand wielded a saber, resembling wings. Flying twin saber technique. A cold burst of light flashed, slicing through the air. Swish. The saber force fiercely gushed out, wanting to instantly dice Feng Lin's team into 1,000 pieces. Boom. Black chi gathered. A giant rose from the bottom of the earth, clad in solid armor, protecting Feng Lin's team within its palm from the saber light. Another black shadow with 2 sabers leaped into the air. The samurai had a ruthless look on his face as he cleaved down with all his might. Ghost will 1 saber flash. Black saber light gleamed with sharpness, capable of splitting everything and actually left behind a clear scar on the body of the battle statue. The samurai's form flickered in and out of existence. This movement technique was extremely bizarre. He slashed out in all directions with his saber, wanting to tear the battle statue into shreds. Dang. All of a sudden, a figure with a metal cudgel leaped out, rushing toward the samurai. Sparks flew around wildly. The metal cudgel contained an exceptional force within, and the exchange of every blow caused the samurai to retreat with trembling arms. In just an instant, Feng Lin dominated his opponent. Ka, ka, ka. At the same time, the summoned skeletons chomped down on the battle statue. The ninja controlled the earthbound spirit to attack as well. Its mouth that was like a black hole kept chomping down as it sought to devour everything. Soul extermination golden chain. Yana suddenly acted. She was clad in golden armor and was like a goddess that had descended into the mortal world. Her scepter pointed out and a formless wave of mental energy coalesced into golden light of chains that intertwined in the air, forming a heavy net that bounded the earthbound spirit. In an instant, Feng Lin and his team members went all out, fighting against the Japanese team. The onmyoji who was wearing a crown suddenly opened his eyes. They shone with cold-blooded intention and maliciousness. 10 Ghosts Formation. He flicked his sleeve and 10 evil ghosts appeared. Ghosts with long tongues hanging out, ghosts with green face and fangs, ghosts who bled from 7 apertures, etc. In the middle of the day, ghost chi ran rampant, causing the atmosphere to become extremely eerie. The 10 ghosts spread out, rushing toward Feng Lin and his other members. Your opponent is me. A figure flashed, lunging forth and scratching out with his extremely sharp claws. Su Li transformed into a fox demon, tearing 2 of the ghosts apart. Demon fire 10-layered wave. 3 demonic tails appeared behind him. Waves of black demon fire erupted forth again and again, burning the ghosts into ashes. Those evil ghosts screamed in pain before disintegrating completely. Who are you? The onmyoji spoke in a heavy voice. He still assumed a lofty attitude and coldly glanced over. The eyes revealed from Su Li's mask flashed with coldness. The small country of Japan loves to boast a lot. I heard that onmyojis are all proficient in controlling ghosts and demons, using them as slaves. I want to seek some guidance from you today. 3 Tails Loop. Lightning flashed, ice frozen, demon fire burned. 3 different elements revolved in a loop, blasting toward the onmyoji. The 9-tailed fox mythological path? The onmyoji was startled. The Japanese had always been very prudent in preserving legends. In any case, there were also myths about a 9-tailed fox in Japanese mythology, although it was known as the Kubi no Kitsune. Upon seeing the strange appearance of Su Li, the onmyoji's eyes flashed with greed. It was like he had just seen a priceless treasure and wanted nothing more than to take it for himself. Cultivators on the 9-tailed fox mythology path was a rarity. If he could obtain the soul of this man, he would be able to refine a 9-tailed fox shikigami. Su Li's eyes grew colder when he noticed his gaze. Courting death. His body shot through the air as he grabbed toward the onmyoji's throat. The onmyoji let out a sinister laugh. His hands folded seals. You can kill 10 ghosts, but can you kill 100? Night of the 100 Ghosts. Sinister black chi gushed forth, forming a black screen that enveloped the sky. Hua, hua, hua. The earth split open and countless evil ghosts crawled out. Wood ghosts, mountain children, scarlet tongues, malevolent ghosts gushed out like the tides, wanting to drown Suli within. Saber light flashed coldly. The samurai transformed into an Azura Yiksha. He wielded his katana and traced the shape of a crescent moon, radiating cold killing intent. Feng Lin's metal cudgel swung out with brute strength. His moves were extremely simple, but they exuded the pressure of mountains, immovable. Using brute strength to break all techniques. No matter how sharp the saber light was, under the powerful cudgel, the saber light was forced to dissipate into saber chi. When the saber chi brushed across Feng Lin's tough body, sparks flew out but it caused no injuries. Bang, bang, bang. The cudgel waved about rapidly, smashing down again and again, causing the samurai to be heavily injured and forcing him back in retreat. For a time, Feng Lin occupied the complete advantage. It was only a matter of time before he emerged victorious. However, this was not enough. Demons and devils were dancing in riotous revelry. The aftershocks of their fight devastated surroundings. Su Li's three tails continued moving, protecting himself. He was surrounded by 100 ghosts and he could barely defend his life. It was too difficult to gain victory. The three-tailed loop continued blasting out, destroying the ghosts, but there were simply too many of them. The area around him now was like hell in the mortal world. Su Li continued killing those ghosts, however, his efforts were like throwing a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. It was completely inadequate. He had no way to break out from the siege. Feng Lin gazed over and his heart fell. Right now, Su Li could only achieve the Three Tails transformation. He had yet to understand the true essence of the nine-tailed fox mythological path. Considering their techniques, his mythological path wouldn't lose out to Onmyojis. Sadly, the difference in vitality stats between him and his opponent was simply too great. The ghosts danced wildly, intending on slaughtering Su Li. They then slowly moved toward the main battlefield. Everything was in chaos. Now that those ninjas and samurais had received the aid from the Onmyoji guy, they fought increasingly ferociously. Feng Lin and the three others were gradually being suppressed. These damnable bastards. Now that Onmyoji-sama has personally acted, you guys won't have any chance of victory at all. Just obediently prepare to die. The samurai fighting Feng Lin laughed. His katana continuously slashed out, aiming for Feng Lin's vitals as his killing intent erupted. Feng Lin completely ignored him. This sort of person who could only depend on others was nothing but trash in his eyes. However, things can't continue on. Feng Lin knew that they had to stop the Onmyoji no matter what. If not, if the Onmyoji displayed the full extent of his abilities, although Feng Lin could escape, his other team members would surely be in danger. Scram! He roared. His cudgel smashed toward the katana of the samurai, knocking it aside as he rushed the Onmyoji. Don't even think about it, the samurai roared. Wind-defying one saber slash. He roared and rushed over, slashing his katana from top to bottom to open up a path. After that, he pierced his katana out, wanting to pierce through Feng Lin. The katana was only an inch away from Feng Lin, the samurai could already see Feng Lin being impaled by it. But at the next moment, a face with a smile that wasn't a smile appeared before the samurai. Damn, I got tricked. The samurai felt terror in his heart and hurriedly retreated. However, a hand shot out, ignoring everything as it grabbed the edge of the katana directly. Blood flowed from Feng Lin's palm, but he ignored the injury. At the next moment, his other fist slammed out like a heavy hammer, shining with a jade-like luster. A miserable scream echoed out in the air. Pooh! Yellowish-white brain spilled onto the ground. The samurai's head exploded and his body fell onto the ground. Feng Lin intentionally leaked a flaw and killed the samurai in a single move. His body was drenched in the blood of the samurai, and his expression was extremely ruthless. The eyes of the other 4 members of the Japanese team narrowed. Shock appeared in their hearts. Shriek. At this moment, an intense explosion rang out, breaking the silence. The people of the 2 teams instinctively stared upward, only to see a giant airship arcing through the air like a northern goshawk. It tossed out a container that glimmered with a red light. The airdrop containing supplies from the Cultivation Association had finally arrived. Chapter 274, Crushing Defeat. The airship arced through the sky and a giant crate fell from the air, gleaming with piercing red light, making it extremely noticeable even from very far away. That was the valuable supplies sent by the Cultivation Association. Within it, there were all sorts of high-grade genetic medicine that could replenish the energy, or greatly enhance combat prowess for a certain period of time. The rarest items should be level 5 equipment. All these were pinnacle-tier scientific creations such as quantum ray guns, death ray grenades, micro-mecha of the Starry Space Roaming series. Quantum ray guns could shoot out high-intensity quantum rays that could destroy and penetrate everything. It was able to break through 99.9999% of any material in the current universe. There was no way to block it. Although the death ray grenades might not have such great power and material damage, its killing prowess toward living matters was extremely great. Once it erupted forth, death rays would seep into everything in the area, causing deadly radiation to destroy a living creature from the microscopic level, disintegrating cells and genetic molecules. No science or technology would be able to save a victim blasted by a death ray grenade. As for the micro-mecha of the Starry Roaming series, it was the representative of interstellar humanity's high-end armor. This series of micro-mecha was the same size as a normal human, yet it could greatly enhance one's genetic abilities, allowing a human to move freely in outer space, ignoring the limitations of gravity. According to the examination information, the airdrop supply box would contain 10 random types of level 5 equipment. If they were put to good use, they could turn the situation, but were all extremely rare. And Feng Lin discovered that the airdrop box in the air was shining with a brilliant and conspicuous red light. It directly descended through the air, moving toward the depths of the cloud smoke swamp. Although Feng Lin's team and the Japanese team were in the middle of a life-and-death battle, their attention couldn't help but be attracted by the airdrop. Things would sure to get lively. Feng Lin's heart sank. The airdrop crate was clearly extremely valuable. Once it appeared, many of the teams would surely gather here, trying to fight for it. Things would become extremely chaotic. They would try to kill each other to obtain the treasure, and things would get incomparably dangerous. But it was useless to think so far now. What important for Feng Lin now was to settle the Japanese team first. The members of the Japanese team were all extremely ruthless. Feng Lin naturally wouldn't be polite to them. Harada-san. You actually dared to kill my team member. Our team will not rest until all of you are exterminated. The other Japanese started to howl in wrath. As for the Onmyoji, his expression turned extremely gloomy. A member of his team was actually killed in front of his face. This was equal to a harsh slap. His face felt a burning sensation. Originally, they already wouldn't stop until one side was dead. Why did they have to waste time talking nonsense? Feng Lin's lips curled in a sneer. His body moved like lightning, directly rushing the Onmyoji. Vajra subduing Devil Fist. Right now, he was already an elite cultivator that stood at the absolute peak. His vitality stat was extremely high. With a single punch, his chi and blood churned, blazing like fire. His punch was extremely tough and unyieldingly strong. This was an attack that was yang in nature. These demons and ghosts were formed from ghost chi of a yin nature. Upon facing Feng Lin's attack, it was like they had met the blazing sunlight and all of them dissipated into thin air, vanishing completely. Night Parade of 100 Demons, this technique was capable of turning this place into something like hell in the mortal world. Feng Lin wantonly aroused his chi and blood, causing them to burn like a blazing sun high up in the sky. The demons, devils and ghosts all screamed when they came in contact with the blazing sun. They transformed into black chi before being dispersed. What tyrannical blood and chi! The onmyoji coldly snorted. Grand ghost formation. His robes fluttered as a cold wind caused numerous yellow talismans to fly out. The yellow talismans danced in the wind and linked up together. At this moment, a sinister air permeated the area as a giant demonic silhouette took form. It was over 10 meters with corded muscles. This demonic creature took the shape of a bull, and its silhouette was gradually turning corporeal. Its face was covered by a Japanese-style general mask. This demon was different from the previous ethereal ghosts and demons. It had a real body, and its body was packed with violence and explosive might. Ong! The bull ghost roared. Its horns rammed forth ruthlessly. Feng Lin swept his cudgel out horizontally. At the moment of collision, a great force of about 10,000 kilograms flowed into him, causing his body to retreat from the impact. 100 ghosts devour the soul. The onmyoji attacked once more, controlling the ghosts to fly over, surrounding Su Li and wanting to consume his soul. Did he want to fight against two of us now? What arrogance! Feng Lin coldly laughed. His bones creaked as his form instantly expanded into a 3-meter-tall figure. His muscles were stretched taut as he pushed back with force. The large body of the bull demon was forcefully pushed back. Its legs left deep trails behind on the ground as it did its best to resist the impact. Ha! Feng Lin shouted in a thunderous voice. Showing off his monstrous strength, he grabbed the horns of the demon and pulled in an upward manner, using them as a pivot to toss the bull demon into the ghosts. The 100 ghosts formation was instantly broken. Glimmering demon fire. The pressure on Su Li was greatly alleviated. At this moment, his skinny frame floated in the air, and his 3 tails moved as glowing specks of flames fell below. The demons and ghosts that came in contact with the flames were all incinerated. Destroy. A silver light shot from the center of Feng Lin's brow, exuding an aura of ruthlessness as it swept out. The bodies of these ethereal entities stiffened. It was like they met their jinx and started to crumble apart. Night Parade of the 100 Ghosts. These malicious ghosts and demons were formed from the Yin aura given off by the evil intentions of humanity. However, as long as one's spirit force was high enough, they had nothing to fear. In the past, when the Killer King had transformed into Yama King, his 18 levels of hell also could do nothing to Feng Lin. Therefore, this technique was truly like a joke in Feng Lin's eyes when he compared this to the Killer King's technique. His spirit force gushed out, transforming into a windstorm that caused the ghosts and demons to dissipate. Both their attacks caused the ghosts and demons to suffer heavy casualties. A huge hole could be seen within their ranks. Su Li transformed into a black shadow and had already arrived beside Feng Lin. This onmyoji's vitality stat is too high. I'm not his match, said Su Li in a heavy voice. From the start to the end, he didn't occupy any advantage at all. His expression was extremely unsightly. Feng Lin wasn't too bothered by it. He calmly smiled. You have delayed him long enough. Go and help the others for now, leave this onmyoji to me. Right. Su Li was also exhausted. He nodded and rushed toward Yana, aiding her to deal with the ninja controlling the earthbound spirit. Where are you running to? The onmyoji coldly laughed. He rapidly formed hand seals. Manifestation of the 3 greater demons. 3 wretched illusory silhouettes manifested as their demonic chi flooded the area. They were very familiar to Feng Lin and were none other than the 3 greater demons of Japanese mythology. The Shutendoji, Kyubi no Kitsune, and the Daitengu. The Daitengu hadn't materialized fully and it was already flapping its wings, flying towards Su Li. Your opponent is me. Feng Lin softly laughed. His figure flashed and appeared before the Daitengu. He lifted his fists and slammed them down like a hammer, the impact causing the surrounding space to tremble. Sky-flipping hammer imprint. The Daitengu just pulled out his katana but was blasted instantly into pieces. Spirit storm. At this moment, silver light shot out from Feng Lin's forehead, forming a silver vortex which transformed into countless tiny strands of spirit force. It changed into a sharp net that could slice everything. Even before the other two greater demons took form, they were already trapped inside the net. A moment later, they dispersed into black smoke and faded completely. Spirit force was a unique counter to evil demons and ghosts. And as his spirit gene evolved into the spiritual stone monkey gene, his spirit force didn't weaken, it was enhanced instead. Heart monkey force could interfere with material objects through idealistic energy. It was a sublimation of spirit force. These ethereal ghosts couldn't withstand it and were forcefully dispersed upon contact. What? The Onmyoji was shocked. He increased his hand speed. 100 ghosts stealing the soul. The black chi behind him suddenly erupted with full force as numerous ghost heads manifested. Feng Lin coldly laughed, he didn't even bother to dodge. The ghost heads rushed over. There were so many of them that if they stacked up, they could form a small mountain. They instantly drowned Feng Lin as they bit down on whatever they could bite. However, Feng Lin's body glowed with a jade-like luster, his skin was as tough as metal. These ghost heads couldn't even wound him. Their teeth might be sharp, but all of them shattered from the impact. Impervious to fire and water. He was immune to energy-type attacks. Thus, how could these illusory ghost-like beings harm him? If this Onmyoji was something from the Japanese mythology that resembled a magic-wielding priest, Feng Lin would be considered an assassin. In the situation where their vitality stat didn't differ too much, Feng Lin could completely counter his opponent. How would this Onmyoji play next? Feng Lin's fist contained natural energy, crushing these unnatural ghosts into pieces as he moved nearer the Onmyoji. Seeing that he was at a disadvantage, the Onmyoji floated in the air. He transformed into a ghost king that controlled countless ghosts, making them rush at Feng Lin. For a period of time, both sides fought equally. Flying 100 saber technique. Shwa, shwa, shwa. The samurai leaped into the air. He held a saber in each of his hands and began to spin like a top. Countless beams of light were slashed out, converging together. Meeting his attack was Eris's battle statue. It directly rushed toward the beams of light and fought him head-on. Earth element, surging earth river. The ninja entered the earth and controlled the swamp, wanting to drown Feng Lin and his team completely. Golden crow descent. A golden beam of fire arced through the sky as a firebird descended. It sank right into the ground, causing everything to explode. Yi continued firing his arrows, making it so that the ninja had no way to hide. The other ninja continued using ninjutsu, utilizing both illusion and hidden weapons as he wanted to get closer to perform an assassination. However, Yana had long since expected this. She moved toward her sister and fought together with her. Eris simply rushed ahead while Yana was beside her, supporting her with her mental attacks. Their combination of material and immaterial attacks was highly effective, amplifying their combat strength exponentially. At this moment, Suli also made his way here. He waited at the side for opportunities and unleashed his demonic arts whenever he had a chance to. The ninjas and samurais were surrounded and for a period of time, they were forced into retreat. At this moment, the balance between both teams was completely broken with Feng Lin's team occupied the advantage. The Onmyoji could no longer retain his arrogant attitude. The death of a samurai led to an avalanche effect as they grew nearer to defeat upon each passing second. Feng Lin's spirit force permeated the surroundings, and the Onmyoji couldn't summon any ghosts at all. Yamata formation. The Onmyoji finally panicked as he chanted an incantation. The coiled great serpent of the marsh, the almighty being with 8 heads and 8 tails. The destruction of the heavens and earth, poisoning the mortal world. Ong, ong, ang. The demonic ghostly chi behind him churned wildly, gushing forth and materializing a Yamata no Orochi. Its 8 heads stared up at the sky as it howled, radiating a baleful aura that caused chills in everyone's heart. 4 heads among them shot straight towards Feng Lin, while the other 4 heads shot towards other directions. Eris, Yana, and Suli had to retreat rapidly in order to avoid a strike. "Get over here!" the Onmyoji roared. The 3 team members from the Japanese team felt like they had a weight off their chests and hurriedly moved toward the Onmyoji. "Just this?" Feng Lin roared. Creak, creak. He waved his cudgel in a dance, smashing apart 4 heads of the Yamata no Orochi as he rushed out. Enlarge. 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 The metal cudgel was like a heavenly pillar, heavily smashing down on the Japanese team. The power in the cudgel caused the air in the area to turn heavy from the pressure. Earth element, earth and stone becoming a mountain. The earth elemental ninja rushed out. His face was pale. A layer of soil and stones covered him as he grew larger in size, becoming something resembling a mountain. He forcefully attempted to block the Heavenfall cudgel strike. "Abe-sama, you guys leave first." The ninja viewed death as a homecoming. "Go." The Onmyoji was also a cruel person. He and the other 2 subordinates actually didn't hesitate to leave behind their comrade as they fled. He shot a venomous gaze at Feng Lin and his team. "I will remember you all. This time, you guys managed to ambush us, but there won't be another opportunity for you to do so in the future. I, Abe Game, will never spare you all." After speaking, he folded hand seals and the 3 of them actually turned into smoke and vanished, burrowing with great speed through the earth. This technique was extremely strange, but it had great fleeing speed. Even Feng Lin couldn't see any flaws. Thus, he could only let them leave for now. As for the words spoken by Abe Genmei before he left, Feng Lin coldly laughed. "A defeated dog wants to talk big? So what even if you are a descendant of Abe no Saimai? Since you were defeated by me once, you won't ever have another opportunity to climb back up." Feng Lin was very clear that with the assistance of his genetic equation, his growth speed would far surpass his peers. This Abe Genmei lost so badly and he still wanted to talk big? What a foolish fantasy. After killing the ninja, Feng Lin's team started to loot the bodies of the 2 Japanese team members. They had so many treasures that just the 2 of them provided enough value to overwhelm a regular team. There were 5 level 2 equipment, 2 level 3 equipment, and 1 level 4 equipment named the Blood Silkworm armor. The Blood Silkworm was a unique creature in this spiritual chi planet. Its silk was as smooth as the snow and as light as nothingness, yet its defensive capabilities were so high that it could block the damage of any guns. What made him feel pity was that they didn't succeed in getting all of them to stay behind. If not, their harvest would be even greater. After that, Feng Lin and his team continued on their way. For the airdrop supply box, even if their team couldn't obtain it, they wouldn't allow other teams to get it so easily. If not, their situation would be extremely dangerous. Within the cloud smoke swamp, the haze was everywhere, and the directions were simply muddled up. But the brilliant red light from the airdrop box could actually pierce through the mist and haze, clearly signaling its location to everyone. "We are getting nearer and nearer to it. We should be about to arrive soon," said Yana. "Careful," Feng Lin warned. The signal from the airdrop was so clear, most probably, many teams would try to obtain it. Things would be extremely dangerous. His other team members nodded as they proceeded cautiously forward. This airdrop box was as large as a house. Right now, they could already see it in their vision. However, what was strange was that in the surroundings of the airdrop box, there was no commotion at all. There was just an eerie silence in the atmosphere. "Seems like no one arrived yet. Let's grab the equipment and flee," Eris spoke in joy. "Wait a minute." Feng Lin spoke in a low voice. Wear the shirts of invisibility and follow me closely. Art of transformation. Feng Lin still felt that it was better to take precautions. He waved his hand and his heart monkey force gushed out, changing their appearances to stones as their auras became completely retracted. This transformation. Su Li and Yi, who were new members, were all shocked. This transformation ability was simply too bizarre. Feng Lin simply smiled and spoke in a low voice to Yana, "How many teams have you located?" 2 teams. Yana closed her eyes, sending out her mental force to probe. I found 3 teams. Feng Lin laughed. Where's the additional team that I missed out on? Yana furrowed her brows. There's one more team hiding inside the mud, concealing their auras. If I'm not mistaken, they should be the 3 Japanese. Feng Lin stated. I see. Yana nodded as a look of pondering could be seen on her face. After hearing their conversation, Eris and the 2 others finally understood the crux. This calm scene had many currents flowing about in the dark. Other teams had already prepared their ambush. Whoever was the first to act would definitely suffer the attack from the other teams. Most probably, the team who acted first would be in for a dreadful ending. So it turned out that everyone is a schemer. Interesting. Feng Lin's spirit force gushed out as a cunning smile appeared on his face. Let's see who can turtle for the longest. Chapter 275, The Battle Between Sneaks. In a battle between sneaky people, the importance was to see who was more like a turtle. As long as they hadn't died, they would turtle until the end of the world. The airdrop box was right before their eyes, within reach. However, none of the 4 teams dared to make a move. They didn't reveal any hint of auras. It was without a doubt that all of them wanted to be the one to take advantage of the situation when the rest engaged in a fight, and not be the one first engaging in the fight. Each team was even more of a turtle than another. However, Feng Lin's team held a tremendous advantage. The spirit force was invisible and intangible. They seeped into the earth, and any minute changes would be within their senses. There was no stopping them. Although it might be possible for the other 3 teams to use their concealing methods to hide from the rest, through his senses, there were no secrets. He carefully observed the details of these teams. One of them lay in ambush under a huge boulder. It was a team of white-skinned examinees. However, all of them had extremely muscular bodies like they were big white bears that concealed their auras while staring at their prey. Once the other party revealed a flaw, they would be like bears that had woken up from hibernation, tearing their prey up into pieces and then completely engulfing them. Each person's aura was extremely powerful and they had a vitality of over 600. They weren't to be trifled with. Such obvious signs. These people were clearly the combat race from Soviet Russia. Another team was filled with people from various ethnicities, including black, white, yellow, even a person with a red skin tone. Their vitality varied as well. The weakest one of them only had a vitality of over 100, but strangely, their top fighter seemed to have a vitality of over 800. What a contrast! Hiding in the bushes, they were wearing ghillie suits that enabled them to blend with the environment. Even with the inconsistent battle prowess, they were still a worthy opponent. However, the Japanese team was still the greatest threat of all. Although 2 members of this team had perished, the combination of an onmyuji, ninja, and samurai was one where they could attack from both close and long distance. They could both attack and defend, and their battle prowess distribution was almost flawless. If they were given a chance to perform their means, they would definitely create a big mess. Feng Lin's mind was moving very quickly as he tried to think of ways to deal with the situation. To be able to participate in this examination, each of them was an elite cultivator with great patience. And patience was indeed a talent. Without realizing it, 3 hours passed by and each of the teams remained concealed, not moving at all. The airdrop box was right before them, but no one made a move. The glaring red light flickered rapidly and then gradually extinguished. The haze in the cloud smoke swamp spread out rapidly, covering the surroundings and making it hard for one to see even their own fingers. These people are really turtles. Feng Lin sighed and lay low as well. Continue to turtle. Pa pa pa. Everyone continued to turtle for half an hour when a sudden series of footsteps neared, breaking the silence. Everyone, quickly look around. That airdrop box seems to have landed here. If we find that level 5 equipment, we'd be able to take down even grand cultivators. Whether or not we can take first place, winning and get chicken for dinner, will depend on this. Excited voices rang out. 5 figures walked out from the thick haze. It was a full team of 5. They scanned the surroundings warily as they headed over. However, when they set their eyes on the airdrop box, their gazes were fixed on it. Boss, look. The airdrop box is over there. Let's go over there quickly. These are all ours. The team's members immediately cried out. Only the leader kept a hint of rationality. There's no hurry. Check it out with scouting means first and see if there are any ambushes in the vicinity. We must be careful not to be assaulted. Otherwise, we'd be in trouble. A tall and skinny examinee nodded and walked out. He brought out a pair of technological spectacles and started scanning the environment. After a while, he said in surprise, "Boss, it's fine. There isn't anyone nearby nor are there any traces that people have appeared here before." That's good. Brothers, go on. The leader put down the last bit of doubt he had and led the 4 members rushing over. Feng Lin looked at this scene and shook his head. This team was still too green. With the interstellar space's development, although technological scoutings were used as support, there were also skills to crack them. How could they possibly detect others with these little skills they had? The impetuous team hurried toward the airdrop box as if they had seen a precious treasure. Gotcha. The airdrop box was opened up, revealing extremely precious equipment as well as many gene potions. The 5 people's eyes opened wide, but before they could cry out in surprise, silver light flashed. A glaring hole appeared on one of the examinee's forehead. Blood and brain juice were flowing out. What? The team was horrified and didn't have the chance to think too much into it. Bullets shot out crazily toward them. 100 Ghosts technique. Many skeletons crawled out from the ground and started to chow on their flesh. Earthquake wave. The ground tremored and the powerful impact caused them to fall over, unable to stand upright. Within an instant, this team was attacked from 3 different locations. They were completely befuddled. They instinctively applied defensive measures, but they were outnumbered and instantly drowned under the attacks, dying horrible deaths. The entire team was wiped out. Blood flowed all over. After a while, there was still no one appearing. It was as if the attacks from earlier were just illusions. Only the 5 corpses that had died horrible deaths in front of the airdrop box dyed the ground in blood. Not only did the 3 teams not come out, but they holed up even more than before, changing their locations in case they were locked on by others. In the instant they had attacked earlier, they realized each other's existence. Whoever made a move first would just be courting death. These people were really a bunch of turtles. Feng Lin sighed. They couldn't just keep on watching from the side. He needed to think of a solution to this. Otherwise, if things continued to drag on, when would it ever end? Compared to the others, he had a huge advantage. He used his spirit force to detect other people's existence. However, the others didn't know of him. Even when that idiotic team had rashly opened up the airdrop box, Feng Lin's team had not divulged themselves. Having the advantage of the unequal grasp of information, if he didn't make use of this, it would really be a waste of brain tissues. His brain started churning as he searched for a way to break out of this predicament. Night gradually fell and the cloud smoke swamp became increasingly dark and silent. He sensed that two new teams had appeared. However, they were a lot more careful than the last. But maybe that was because of the corpses and the blood next to the airdrop box. They two teams quietly lay low as well. Sneaks encountering sneaks once again. Feng Lin's head started aching. He carefully probed with his spirit force and locked onto an examinee who was from the combat race. This examinee appeared capable-looking and held a big rifle. His gaze was as sharp as an eagle. He was clearly an experienced sniper. Any slight movements in the surroundings would attract his attention and he would shoot them from afar. Earlier on, he had been the first to shoot. Hypnotism technique. Feng Lin's spirit force released abnormal waves that spread out like a warm breeze. The sniper suddenly felt very sleepy and his eyelids became extremely heavy. Psi Force. Under the effect of Psi Force, that sniper turned his gun barrel towards someone who was lying in ambush amongst the grass from afar. The two teams didn't notice this at all. Bang. Sparks shot out and a light bullet cut across the darkness.
Ah!
A stifled sound rang out and someone amongst the grass was shot. The person couldn't hold it in and let out a painful cry. Bove, who permitted you to shoot? The leader of the combat race team let out a furious bellow. Bang bang bang. The sniping rifle kept shooting out crazily toward the bushes. That sniper had clearly fallen asleep. This isn't good. Someone else is pulling stunts. That team leader was surprised and enraged. Earthquake wave. A series of earthquakes appeared under their feet. It was like there was a volcano eruption that forced them out from their ambush. Then a group of people in ghillie suits crawled out and started retaliating. The combat race was a fierce race to begin with, and when they were being attacked, how could they possibly not retaliate? The two teams started to fight and kill each other, engaging in a scuffle. What happened? The other three teams lying in ambush were baffled and wondered if they should make a move. However, how could Feng Lin possibly let them off? If they didn't fight each other, how could he try to sneak his way closer? His Psi Force was released silently. It was an invisible yet powerful force, and he was using it to control the sniper to shoot out toward the other three teams.
Ah!
A series of agonizing cries rang out as people were hit by the bullets. There are other teams. The two teams that were engaged in a battle exchanged a mutual glance and immediately stopped fighting each other. Instead, they charged toward the other teams. It was wishful thinking for these people to want to take advantage of the situation while they fought each other. Since no one could continue to stay hidden, then they would fight each other head-on to see who was more vicious. A chaotic massacre took place. There were 5 teams, 5 groups of people. But there were no alliances, just head-on fighting. This was an examination where they sought to survive a dangerous situation. Only the one who emerged first would be able to pass the test. Any form of alliance would be a sham. Night Parade of 100 Demons. Aebgenme's Onmyoji robe kept on flapping as yellow amulets were thrown out. The gates of hell were opened and demons gushed out like tidal waves. Thunder God's Chariot. The 5 members of the combat race gathered together, and a vast amount of electricity radiated out from their bodies. A tall figure came whizzing out of it, riding a chariot. Nature's friends. One team turned the trees into treants to protect themselves. They were like ancient druids from myths and legends, wearing beast hide and strange scepters. They were all top-notch geniuses who had been picked out carefully from various star regions. Naturally, they had all kinds of extraordinary means. Feng Lin watched the show coldly from the side. He could see faint traces of myths and legends from these people's moves. It was really an eye-opener for him. These 5 teams were engaged in an intense scuffle, but yet no one noticed that Feng Lin's team was still lying low at the side. In a competition between sneaks, it wasn't enough to be turtling. Turtling could only drag things out for a short moment. If they wished to hog all the advantages, then it'd be a competition to see who was even more sinister. The deadlock was broken and everyone started killing each other. The situation was extremely chaotic. The varying teams wore savage looks, having a strong urge to kill the rest of the other teams and fighting it out to the bitter death. All of them turned from sneaks into violent people in just an instant. The battlefield was very chaotic and every team suffered losses. At this moment, everyone wished to leave peacefully, but it was very difficult. Eris, E, and Suli all wore unbelievable expressions as they looked at this chaotic scene. Who on earth did this? Yana was the only one who understood. Earlier on, he had noticed that Feng Lin had secretly used his will to scout. She had no idea what tricks he had pulled. She looked pitifully at the other 5 teams who had engaged in a massacre. Although these people were all sneaks, they still couldn't win against Feng Lin in terms of being sneaky. This person was the true tough character. Let's not make any move. Once they show signs of stopping, we'll launch sneak attacks and continue to sow discord between them. Feng Lin communicated through mental connections and a cold gleam flashed in his eyes. Yana, E, and the other 2 felt a chill running down their spine. How vicious. If they were to really do this, these 5 teams would probably have to die here. They wore pitiful expressions as if they could already see the pathetic plight the 5 teams would end up in. Don't participate in the scuffle here. Snatch the equipment and the items first. The combat race team was the first to react. Although they were unfearful of battles, fighting without any objectives would just be a waste of their blood and energy. After their traces were divulged, they decided not to drag out the situation. They decided to first get their hands on the equipment and then take their time dealing with this group of people. Thunderbolts erupted and the chariot whizzed, forcibly crushing through the waves of demons and energy currents, heading straight for the airdrop box. Those rare equipment and items were just right before their eyes. Baka. Dream on. The Japanese ninja let out a cry. Having lay in ambush for so long, how could he possibly be willing to give up the airdrop box to the others? Earth evasion jutsu, earth element, earth flow river. He formed seals with both hands, causing the earth to seethe into a river and gushed over. Flying thousand saber technique. A samurai stood on top of the river. His body slightly inclined forward and he leaped off fiercely. He unleashed countless streams of light, forcibly fending off the powerful impact from the thunder god's chariot. Abe-sama, you go and seize the equipment first. The 2 of us will hold them off for you, shouted both the samurai and the ninja. The Onmyuji was cold and emotionless, and he wouldn't say any word of crap. He turned into an elusive figure and pounced toward the airdrop box. Dream on. When the other teams saw that, they came charging over as well and performed various means. The Trey ants had massive figures. They waved their branches non-stop like they were tentacles, smashing out and causing those examinees to keep on retreating. The earth tremored. The repercussion waves from the many examinees' attacks scattered out, causing the earth to crumble. The entire place was in shambles. The airdrop box was a fuse and the flames of war spread out. The whole ecosystem of Cloud Smoke Swamp was in a dire strait. At the very end, all 5 teams suffered severe casualties and their movements also slowed down. They started panting, with only their eyes still glaring fiercely at each other. Seeing that the battle situation was gradually slowing down, Feng Lin let out a low bellow, do it. Yi nodded and drew his bow, sending a sharp arrow silently into the air, hitting onto someone from the combat race. Who's that? That member of the combat race was infuriated. Lightning erupted out from his entire body, and he attacked fiercely toward the surroundings. The situation that had calmed down immediately became intense once again. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Many vicious arrows shot out silently toward the various teams. Although their prowess wasn't great, they had lit up flames of fury in everyone's heart. The other members in Feng Lin's team also learned to be sinister, launching sneak attacks. Yana would also occasionally bewitch others with her improved illusion art, causing the examinees to lose their rationality and attack fiercely. They stood steadily at the side, waiting to harvest the battlefield at the very end. Feng Lin's gaze stared at the airdrop box that had been opened up. With a single thought from Feng Lin, the gene potions floated up. Under the concealment of the battle's repercussions, they moved toward him while remaining low on the ground. Obtaining objects across space via Psi-Force. They didn't have to head over personally to get their hands on these equipment and resources. They could do the same through Psi-Force. However, the traces of this method would be very clear. Change. Feng Lin obtained a pile of stones and put them into the airdrop box using Psi-Force. The Heart Monkey Force was activated and it immediately changed them to take on the appearance of gene potions, passing them off as the genuine items. If other people didn't pick them up personally, they wouldn't be able to tell the difference with their naked eyes. From the very beginning, Feng Lin hadn't planned on fighting these people head-on. Only boars would choose to only use force to resolve issues. Completing the change with the Heart Monkey Force would be sufficient to pass off the fake as genuine. Since he could attain his objectives without others knowing, why was there a need to use force? Chapter 276, Stealthy Substitution. Feng Lin intentionally incited a battle to break out between the other teams. His purpose in doing so was to make the situation chaotic enough so that he could take advantage of the turbulence. These people were fighting intensely, and Feng Lin felt pleased to see this happening. He carried on with his plan sneakily. In the blink of an eye, the items and equipment in the airdrop box had been secretly changed. Although it appeared as if they hadn't been touched at all, it was just an illusion. The things left behind were just some worthless stones. What was it like to bring about endless changes, performing a stealthy substitution to trade one thing for another? This was it. Just as he was planning to continue with his operation and steal all the items in the airdrop box. Suddenly, a cold and arrogant voice rang out. "Everyone, scram. The Paladin team is here. The airdrop box is ours, and those who dare to stop us will die. Holy Sword Light." Buzz. A sword light 50 meters long took form in the air and suddenly came slashing down. Endless holy light scattered out and the entire battlefield was slashed completely into two halves. A crack that was like a mountain valley appeared. The 5 teams scattered in different directions, watching in shock and terror at the sword mark. All of them were silent. This prowess. The people who came were probably grand cultivators. Pa pa pa. Uniformed footsteps rang out and 5 examinees who were like the Middle Ages paladins from the Western religions walked over. They wore silver armor that covered their entire bodies, revealing only a pair of eyes from their helmets. Their gazes had an unshakable will and were emotionless. They looked at the many examinees present as if they were looking at dead people. "This place has been taken over by our paladin team. All of you should leave quickly," the leader spoke in a cold voice. One of the examinees from the combat race rebutted in fury. "Even if you guys are paladins from the Europa Alliance's Radiant Holy See, aren't you being too domineering like this? Do you really think?" Devil Extermination waves sword. Clank. A sharp sword was unsheathed, glowing in a majestic holy light that slashed down fiercely. A patch of pure white light was released, purifying everything. Under this light, all impurities were exterminated. "You dare." That examinee from the combat race hadn't expected that the paladin would dare to make the first move and attacked him. Electricity burst out from his body, forming a long lance that pierced out. However, the holy light sword purified everything, even the immaterial electricity. It slashed down fiercely, wiping out the lance, and pierced out toward that examinee. Light flashed by. That examinee's body turned stiff on the spot, and at the next moment, was split into 2 parts. Blood gushed out like spring water, and his internal organs dropped onto the ground. I'm only notifying you. I don't have the intention to hold any discussions. If you don't leave, then die. The paladin drew back his great sword coldly, not even throwing a glance at that corpse. His expression was as cool as ever, as if he had just killed an insignificant ant. Ivan. Seeing that their comrade was killed, the eyes of the examinees from the combat race turned bloodshot, and the four of them pounced forth fiercely like frenzied bears. Let's all attack together. When the other teams saw this, they also made a move. The mighty dragon was no match for the native serpent. They had fought each other for so long, yet the paladin team suddenly barged in and wanted to drive all of them away and keep all the airdrop boxes' resources for themselves. How could they possibly allow such a thing to happen? All of them were calculative people, and they knew well that if the paladin team were to have their way, then they wouldn't be able to get anything out of this. The 5 teams joined forces and besieged the powerful opponent that had suddenly popped out. You don't know what's good for you. Holy Light Pentagon Formation. The leader of the paladins let out a cold snort and pointed with his large sword. The other 4 paladins immediately took their places at the other 4 corners of the pentagon and coordinated with each other, forming a massive pentagon formation. The same kind of holy light was released from their bodies at the same time. The auras were strong, breaking through the 1,000 threshold. All of them had reached the Grand Cultivator realm. This was clearly a team that comprised purely of Grand Cultivators. Just their cultivation and strength alone would completely suppress everyone else. Despite being besieged by 5 teams, the Paladin team was unfazed. Their auras connected together, forming a massive magic formation. Holy light soared into the sky like a light pillar that penetrated through layers of clouds and fog, making the area within a range of 100 li extremely clear. Demons gushed forth like tidal waves. Treants stomped on the ground, creating tremors. They were as fierce as a military army. The people from the combat race drove the chariot and came smashing over from the sky. Waves of energy kept on charging forth, wanting to drown the paladin team completely and crush them into dregs. The leader of the paladins didn't move, but the holy light formation created a huge pair of white wings on his back. It was as if he was an angel that had descended, and the large sword he held swept out calmly. Endless amount of holy light burst out, and the mortal world was covered in pure white. It was so plain that it instilled fear, or even horror. Electricity, demons, treants. All of them turned into powders under the white light. Even their existence was wiped out. It was as if they had never existed before. The group of examinees fell backward, landing hard on the ground with pale countenances. Their magical techniques were forcibly negated and they suffered serious injuries from the backlash. Damn it! The 4 from the combat race knew no fear and continued to charge forth. The rest of the other 4 teams stood up silently and turned to leave. Against a team of Grand Cultivators, they had no hopes of winning by fighting them head-on. If they continued on, they would die. At the thought of how there was such a terrifying team in this examination, a great shadow was cast in their hearts. How could they advance to the next round of the examination then? This was really troublesome. Heretics who know not what's good for you. Turn into ashes under the holy light, a loud voice hollered. Endless amount of holy light was like tidal waves, completely drowning the team from the combat race. After the light dissipated, there was no one left on the spot. They had been completely wiped out. It was really terrifying. Go. At the sight of this scene, Feng Lin couldn't take the rest of the equipment and resources in time. Without another word, he left rapidly without turning back. Yana and the others didn't say another word either. The mighty dragon had suppressed the native serpent. The battle prowess of this paladin team was far too terrifying, being a great realm above them. They could completely crush Feng Lin's team entirely, and there weren't any means that could make up for this difference. Once a conflict were to break out, Feng Lin's team would have no chance of winning. One of the paladins closed his eyes, sensing some sort of disturbance. He said in a low voice, "Leader, there seems to be another team in the vicinity." The leader didn't even take a look. "They are just 5 insignificant ants. And they won't affect the overall situation. Anyway, we've already gotten our hands on the airdrop box." The 5 paladins stepped on all the corpses and made their way over. A large variety of resources were placed before their eyes. The leader reached out and grabbed them. At this moment, his countenance changed instantly. The illusions were broken. The precious resources turned into powders that leaked out between his fingers. He bellowed furiously, "Give chase. Those people have stolen the resources from the airdrop box." However, it was all too late. A cloud had risen from the ground, rapidly cutting across the sky and disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. "I'm going to remember you guys." Holy light broke through the endless fog around the swamp like a huge sword, and the hollering voice was filled with endless rage and morose. Hunting geese every day, but finally getting pecked in the eye and blinded one day. Chapter 277, Decapitating Plan. Cold wind blew rapidly in the sky, brushing past them. Feng Lin rode on the cloud, bringing along the team to leave quickly. They pushed through the layers of cloud, and a huge sword light pierced through the sky, slashing down fiercely, wanting to hack them up into powder. Under the effect of the heart monkey force, the clouds made its way across the sky like a bolt of lightning. It cut across the sky and disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye. An enraged bellow rang out behind them and kept on resounding. What on earth happened? Yana and the others were puzzled. They didn't understand why the paladin team had attacked them. They hadn't done anything at all. Feng Lin didn't reply and fully focused on controlling the cloud, leaving rapidly. Very soon, they left the cloud smoke swamp and headed for the outer region. Hold on. Aren't we going to hunt the swamp fish king? Where are we headed to now? Eris was baffled. I don't know either. Feng Lin shook his head and said calmly, "What I know is that if we don't leave, we probably won't be able to leave later on." What? Eris, and the others had no idea what he was talking about. However, Feng Lin waved his hand and their expressions turned to that of astonishment. Although they had plenty of questions, they couldn't voice out a single one. Many gene potions were placed before them, in addition to 3 types of extremely rare technological-based equipment. Titan Potion, Quantum Ray Gun, Micro Mecha. These are all level 5 equipment and gene potions. Feng Lin, where did you get them from? Eris couldn't contain her surprise. So you got us to incite those examinees to fight each other while you were secretly transferring those items. Yana figured out what happened. Eris's, Yi's, and Su Li's expressions changed immediately. How terrifying was the paladin team's battle prowess. They had managed to crush 5 other teams in one go. Yet, to think that Feng Lin had secretly taken away the airdrop box from them. It was like seizing treasures from the mouth of a vicious dragon. It was far too sinister. That's right. That's why we must leave. Otherwise, if that paladin team were to catch traces of us, we'll definitely be hunted down. We're definitely not their match. Feng Lin said calmly, not behaving recklessly at all. Given the huge difference in their strength, they would just be heading to their deaths if they were to forcibly challenge them. The best strategy was to slip away. Cultivators had long lifespans, thus, winning or losing for the moment wasn't something major. What's important was to stay alive. As long as they were alive, there would be endless possibilities. If they couldn't even accept the simplest humiliation over a loss, they wouldn't be able to go far on the cultivation path. Feng Lin dodged the sword attack and rapidly left, leaving the paladin team far behind them. Yana and the others no longer raised any objections. They had initially planned on entering the depths of the cloud smoke swamp so that they could obtain the level 5 equipment, the Fish King Trident. Now that they had gotten something better, there wasn't a need to go on with that plan. Unless they were really left with no choice, they really didn't wish to engage the paladin team. Very soon, Feng Lin's team left the place and landed on a desolate peak. We must find a way to deal with that paladin team. Otherwise, we won't be able to get first place. Feng Lin said this the moment they landed. The other 4 members fell silent and frowned. They also felt that this was a very difficult task. When the paladin team had displayed their prowess earlier, they had seen it for themselves. The paladin team had one-sidedly crushed their opponents. The 5 teams had joined forces yet were defeated with a single blow, unable to put up any resistance. Feng Lin's team didn't lack confidence, but they were no fools either. On the contrary, they were very clear that if they were to engage the paladin team head-on, they would have no chance of victory. It would be like a huge shark suddenly appeared amongst a school of small fish. The difference was so huge that they felt nothing but despair. By right, given that there were 2,000 battlefields, chances of encountering such top-notch teams that comprised purely of grand cultivators were extremely low. However, as luck would have it, they had to end up encountering such a team. Things were really unexpected. If they couldn't find a way to deal with this ultimate boss, it would be practically impossible for them to clinch the top spot. We mustn't drag this out. We must deal with this as soon as possible. Golden light flashed in Yana's eyes, and she made a judgment. I've analyzed the examinee's information previously. This paladin team comes from the Europa Alliance's Radiant Holy See. They worshipped God and they take the angel mythological path that is unique to the Radiant Holy See. All of them aren't considered weak amongst other grand cultivators. On this battlefield, they are definitely unrivaled. If we allow things to drag on, given their strength, they will continue to seize many high-level equipment, and their battle prowess will increase tremendously. Sooner or later, it'll be a case where they one-sidedly crush all of their opponents, eliminating the other teams. We won't be an exception. The others fell silent and the atmosphere became extremely tense. It was a difference in one major realm and brought them nothing but despair. Feng Lin saw that the atmosphere was very tense and knew that he must do something about it. Their strength was no match for the paladin team to begin with. But if they were to feel disheartened, they wouldn't even have a chance of victory at all. There's only one solution. Feng Lin spoke up slowly. Clearly, he had made a decision. What is it? Yana and the others lit up. It would be best if they could pass the first round of the examinations in one go. Otherwise, even if they were to be ranked amongst the top 5 and get another chance of competing, they would enter an infinite loop and their vitality would suffer greatly. Even if they managed to pass by luck, they wouldn't be able to handle the second round of the examinations. Although the chances were slim, no one would be willing to quietly accept their defeat. Feng Lin thought about it for very long. He already had an idea of what to do. Although the paladin team is very strong, it doesn't mean that they are able to face the prowess of level 5 equipment head-on. Each level 5 equipment has the ability to turn the tables around on the battlefield. If they were to receive a sneak attack, they wouldn't be able to handle it either. That's why they are searching for those level 5 equipment. Even if they can't get it for themselves, they can't let others get them either. Otherwise, they'll have to face hidden threats. If my guess is right, they'll continue to spend some more time sweeping through the other teams and eliminate them quickly while seizing the level 5 equipment. Given their strength, the Swamp Fishman's level 5 equipment, the Fish King Trident, is probably already in their hands. Wouldn't that mean that we're left with no way to deal with them? Yi's voice sounded very grim. Every member of the Paladin team was a grand cultivator. If they were to obtain a large amount of level 5 equipment, other people wouldn't have any chance at all. That's not true. Feng Lin shook his head and the corners of his lips curled up into a faint smile of contempt. Although the Paladin team is very strong, they have a fatal weakness. What is that? The other 4 asked in unison. They are too greedy, said Feng Lin in a low voice. Given their strength, they could have headed straight for the Zhang clan's nest and snatched that spirit crystal bead. However, they chose to take the safer route and kept on seizing level 5 equipment. They wanted to be fully prepared before they head to complete the mission. The situation on an actual battlefield is constantly changing and there's nothing absolute. Their greed has given us an opportunity. Although our strength is a far cry from them, we also possess 3 level 5 equipment. If we put them to good use, we'll be able to clinch the victory in a single swoop. He carefully analyzed the difficult situation they were facing. Then, his tone suddenly changed and he asked in a low voice, "It's just that the Zhang clan is the fiercest race in the world of the classic of mountains and seas. They are at the very top of the food chain, and if there are only 5 of us sneaking our way in, it'd be like entering a dragon's lair. We'll be outnumbered and overpowered, and the trip will be plagued with dangers. Does everyone here have the courage to take on this challenge?" Yana, Eris, and Suli fell silent for a moment and exchanged glances as if they were communicating silently with each other. They didn't have too much hesitation nor did they show too much fear. The 4 of them nodded decisively. They were in an impasse to begin with. If they didn't fight for it now, what were they still waiting for? Wealth was sought amidst danger. They were going to give it their all. Chapter 278, Dragon's Nest, Tiger's Den. There were 3 giant mountain ranges upon each other, and the mountains there exuded a majestic air. Things seemed extremely dangerous. These mountains were actually stacked upon each other, and their environments were very different. On the bottom layer, there was a black-colored mountain made up of numerous hard rocks stacking upon each other like they were one entity. It was about 1,000 meters tall and resembled a whole block of iron pressing down on the ground. It acted as a solid foundation, supporting the 2 other taller mountains stacked on it. The second mountain was filled with forest. The atmosphere was gloomy and sinister. Sunlight wasn't able to penetrate the forest due to the density of the trees. Darkness shrouded everything. As for the top layer, the mountain was completely hollowed up. It became a mountain fortress that resembled a beehive. It was like a dragon's nest and tiger's den, capable of devouring the lives of those foolish enough to barge in. This was one of the vile places in the world of classic of mountains and seas, the 3-layer mountain. There were 3 mountains stacking upon each other. It was true to its name. Although this was a naturally vile environment, what was more terrifying was the clan that was taking up residence here. The Zhang clan. According to the information from the Cultivation Association, the Zhang clan was a rare humanoid clan on this planet. Their characteristics were marked with ferociousness, and each of them was already an innate transcendent creature. They had the ability to control blood, theirs as well as others, which granted them huge killing potential. This was a hegemonic level clan in this spiritual chi planet. In truth, when humanity first discovered this planet, the first batch of soldiers that had landed here had been completely wiped out. They had all been slaughtered by the Zhang clan with no exceptions. At this moment, at a remote corner not far away from the 3-layer mountain, Fenglin's team was observing everything. Their gazes were extremely heavy. Numerous figures clad in bone armor could be seen moving in and out of the 3-layer mountain. The Zhang clan could be divided into the male faction and female faction. The males were all tall and muscular, roughly about 3 meters tall, and were extremely ferocious. For females, they were all extremely shapely with nice curves. They were extremely beautiful and charming. This was an extremely strange clan. Although their appearances varied, their vitality stats were extremely high. Fenglin didn't dare to underestimate them. Each member of the Zhang clan has a vitality stat of over 100. This was an innate transcendent race. They were born with qualifications high enough to become soldiers. For any who dared to enter without proper considerations, they would surely be wiped out without a doubt. The Zhang clan of the 3-layer mountain would rush out from time to time. They were like primitive people. They had primitive weapons in their hands and would hunt birds and beasts for food. When they returned to the mountain, their bodies would be dyed in blood, and a strange language like that of ferocious gods would come out of their mouths. Yana's eyes flashed with golden light. She was trying to decipher this aboriginal language. The center of Feng Lin's brows shone with a silver light. His spirit force was compressed into thin traces as he sent it out, trying to probe the interior of the three-layer mountain. His spirit gene was maxed out at 10 points, and his spiritual stone monkey gene was enhanced to 5 points. Each point added to the strengthening tally would allow his spirit force to surge explosively. Right now, Feng Lin was doing his best to probe the situation from an area about 200 kilometers away. He could see everything clearly in his mental vision like the highest grade quality microscope with precision, adjusted to 0.01 millimeters. Using his spiritual perspective, everything in the world was laid out before him. There were no secrets. A gentle breeze blew by, gusting into the Zhang clan's lair, yet those aboriginal members of the Zhang clan didn't seem to feel anything. A stretch of red light appeared in his vision. Feng Lin only felt that his perception entered a red tunnel. A strange qi permeated the area completely, seeping into one's body. Spiritual qi, this was spiritual qi. The spiritual qi here gushed forth like tides, instantly submerging his perception. The inner part of the cave was actually constructed from brilliant red crystals. The spiritual qi was so intense that Feng Lin involuntarily shivered. This three-layer mountain was actually a spirit crystal mine. Feng Lin's spirit force continued to flow forward, extending in all directions. This place was like a beehive with many intersections. The area inside was tangled and extremely complicated. An underground palace appeared, and all sorts of rooms were available for residents. The primitive tools they owned were made from spirit crystals. The embryonic form of primitive tribes could be seen from here. Swoosh! From the depths of the cave, the wind gushed out like it was someone's breathing. A terrifying existence seemed to be hiding deep inside, and his aura was incomparably heavy. At the very least, the vitality stat of this life form was 3,000 and above. Feng Lin instantly made a judgment. Even he felt an incredible pressure boring down on him. He continued advancing, wanting to find out more about everything here. The deeper his perception went, the more intense was the spiritual qi in the atmosphere. Now, the spiritual qi even condensed into clouds, gaining some hint of corporeality to their forms. How luxurious was such a spiritual qi environment? If an ordinary pig was to stay here, it would become a transcendent creature as long as it stayed long enough. This Zheng clan was truly powerful. Their members were all extremely fierce. It's getting closer. As his perception advanced, the intensity of spiritual qi grew. The pressure felt like a mountain boring on him. Feng Lin instinctively resisted. Roar! Just this tiny fluctuation seemed to have caused that incomparably terrifying existence to wake up. With a roar of anger, an intense bloodthirsty will shot out from the depths, wanting to trace back Feng Lin's spirit force back to its source. Feng Lin hurriedly severed his thread of spirit force. He opened his eyes, but at the next instant, the entire three-layer mountain started to tremble fiercely. Countless Zheng clan's members were like men-eating ants, rushing out from all corners and snarling ferociously as though looking for something. What's wrong? Yana and the others were shocked. Transform! Feng Lin instantly used the art of transformation, transforming himself and his team into stones as their auras were concealed. Pa, pa, pa. Footsteps rang out. The Zhang clan's members searched everywhere as they howled in anger. Feng Lin's art of transformation had already reached the realm of matter transformation, allowing him to pass off the genuine as the spurious. It wouldn't be so easy to see through his disguise. The members searched for half a day but didn't find anything. Ultimately, they gave up and returned. What just happened exactly? Yana asked. They didn't do anything, so why would these aboriginal people create such a huge commotion? The king of the Zhang clan is terrifying to the extreme. His vitality stat is at least 3,000 and above, and his senses are simply too sensitive. My spiritual perception was discovered by it. If we want to assassinate it, we will need a new plan. If we clash head-on, there's no chance for victory at all. We have to make good use of the level 5 equipment, said Feng Lin in a heavy voice. With a wave of his hand, he took out the level 5 equipment they currently possessed. The 3 level 5 equipment were respectively the quantum ray gun, death ray grenade, and the micro mecha. How should we allocate this 3 equipment to unleash their greatest power? Feng Lin sought Yana's opinion. Yana sank into deep contemplation, trying to think of a strategy. After a while, she gave her answer. Give the quantum ray gun to Su Li. He can use his ghostly speed to employ guerrilla warfare tactics, unleashing the maximum potential of the ray gun. As for the micro mecha, give it to E. He is a long-range attacker, and his defense isn't enough. With the micro mecha equipped, it can enhance his defense and speed. As for the death ray grenade, Feng Lin, you will be the one to take it. You are the person with the strongest combat prowess in our team. Only you would have an opportunity to get near the Zhang clan's king and unleash the greatest killing might of the death ray grenade. Compared to Feng Lin, Yi, Su Li, and the 2 sisters were more suited for supporting purposes. It was not so easy for them to unleash the potential of the grenade. Everything was for victory. Thus, Yana wasn't biased and she didn't allocate any level 5 equipment to herself or her sister. These 5 bottles of spirit explosion medicine can be considered high-tier medium martial genetic potions. Within 10 minutes, they can allow your vitality stat to explosively increase, doubling it. We will each take a bottle and we must use this at crucial moments. Feng Lin's team split the 5 bottles up. After that, they focused on their cultivation, adjusting themselves to the peak. Genetic potential plus 1.2, plus 1.2, plus 1.2. Very soon, Feng Lin obtained a free transcendent point. However, he didn't add it to any gene. He wanted to use it during crucial moments to recover his strength. After some time, the other members of his team had also recovered to their peak state. Let's go. Feng Lin nodded to them. A moment later, a vast amount of heart monkey force gushed out from the center of his brows. About half of it was instantly consumed. His team members and himself now became 5 Zhang clan's members. No one could tell the difference. Feng Lin's team moved toward the depths of the lair. The dark cave hole was before their eyes, and it was like a giant maw, capable of devouring everything in the world. Guligwagwa, Naniai, at this moment, strange noises rang out. 6 Zhang clan's guards suddenly walked out. Their spears were pointed at Feng Lin's team as they questioned them. Seeing how fierce they were, it was like as long as Feng Lin's team didn't reply, they wouldn't hesitate to run the spears through them. Gigi, Wu, Naji, Yana calmly replied, conversing with the guards. The hostility of these guards melted away and they stepped aside, allowing Feng Lin's team to pass. Feng Lin and the others were used to unexpected things. They calmly continued on, moving into the depths of the lair. Inside the mountain, countless crystals could be seen lying around in public like trash. This extravagant scene made Yana, Yi, and the others pant with excitement. However, the heavy pressure from the lair's depth made them not dare to let their imaginations run wild. They paid attention and made sure to avoid the other members of the Zhang clan as they made their way into the depths of the lair. The formless pressure also grew increasingly heavier. Quickly look. Feng Lin pointed. At the end of their current path, there were over 10 members of the Zhang clan with horns on their heads guarding here. Their auras were clearly different from the other aboriginals of the Zhang clan. From a look, one could tell that they were elites. In their surroundings, not a single normal member dared to go near them. Clearly, this was the place their king was staying at. It was considered a forbidden ground. If they walked in there like that, there was no doubt that they would instantly be slaughtered. Feng Lin's team could only temporarily hide at the side, observing the situation for now. The defense of the Zhang clan's king is too tight. It's probably impossible for us to sneak in. The 5 people stealthily stared at the scene before them. The situation didn't seem too good. This lair was like a dragon's nest and the tiger's den. It was extremely secure. Even after a long time, they didn't spot any flaws. They had no chance to act. It wasn't easy for them to sneak in here, surely they couldn't just stand around and simply watched. Relax, there's no rush. Feng Lin actually calmed down at this moment. He spoke in a heavy voice, the spirit crystal bead is inside. Those are also the ultimate goal for the other teams, and they would sooner or later clash with the Zhang clan. We only need to wait for the situation to change and seize favorable opportunities to act. Although there's only a chance to hunt the king and time is pressing, we shouldn't be so hasty. Yana and the others nodded. They also understood that they had panicked earlier. The five of them calmed themselves down, acting like experienced hunters as they simply waited for their prey to make mistakes. A day passed. 2 days passed. 3 days passed. In the blink of an eye, Feng Lin's three had already camped in the lair of the Zhang clan for 3 days. The Zhang clan's king was still in the lair's depth. It seemed to be in a deep sleep. Moreover, those Zhang clan's elites were like robots, and they didn't seem to know fatigue as they continued guarding the area. Just when Feng Lin's team members grew anxious and almost lost their patience, chaos suddenly erupted. From outside, the sounds of combat could be heard, creating a huge din. Feng Lin's eyes abruptly opened. The time is now. Let's act. Chapter 279, Killing is also a mercy. With a command, Feng Lin's team instantly acted, moving from their passive state. They had camped here for a total of 5 days and hadn't moved at all. It had been really draining for their patience. If it wasn't for the fact that they were cultivators and could adjust the activities of their bodies, they wouldn't be able to take it. Wajichala, a roar of rage rang out. Those aboriginals of the Zhang clan were all equipped with primitive armor. The spears they used were made from spirit crystal, and they rushed out like an army. Outside the cave, the sounds of slaughtering echoed ceaselessly. Are they the other exam candidates? Yana asked. Feng Lin closed his eyes and sent out his spirit force. A moment later, he nodded. The paladin team is here. Yana and the others fell silent as their expressions turned extremely heavy. The paladin team came here so fast. Now the time remaining for them wasn't a lot anymore. If they didn't make good use of it, they would truly not have a chance. They knew that Feng Lin hadn't told them the whole truth. Since their last meeting 3 days ago, the paladin team had undergone a huge transformation. Their equipment was all new, so dazzling that they were eye-piercing. If they had been like nobles back then, they were like emperors now. This group of people was extremely ruthless. The person in the lead wielded a crystal trident. He waved it about, manifesting waves to fall from the top of the mountain, rushing into the cave, and turning this place into an ocean. Another person wielded a clay pot that appeared old and tattered. However, black flames flowed out from it, causing the area around it to burn, turning the Zhang clan's members into charred meat. All of the weapons were level 5 equipment forged on this planet. One had to use some kind of primitive totem shamanic art to control the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. The power of this equipment was extremely large, capable of altering terrains. Those Zhang clan's members didn't rush over, but they were still instantly engulfed by the energy torrent. The lair trembled as the millions of aboriginals rushed out like the tides, creating a huge din. This is our chance. The paladin team is too arrogant. They think that just because their cultivation bases are high and that they have excellent equipment, they can directly rush into the lair and clash with the Zhang clan head-on. When this lair empties out, it will be our opportunity, said Feng Lin. What are we waiting for then? Asked Eris hurriedly. No rush. Now that things came to this, Feng Lin wasn't anxious at all. He shook his head. It isn't going to be easy to deal with the paladin team. We should wait until these aboriginal members rush out. When the time comes, when dog bites dog, we will sever their path of retreat. By doing so, they can only go all out and fight the paladin for us. At that time, the lair would be empty. It will be a chance for us to act. Since the captain had already spoken, Yana and the others could only trust his judgment and calm their anxiety down. And as combat outside grew increasingly intense, over 1,000 aboriginal members of the Zheng clan had already rushed out. Feng Lin's spiritual perception showed him that the outside of the lair had already become a pot of mixed porridge. The situation was extremely chaotic. The paladin team was as expected of a team with all grand cultivators. Although they were only 5 people, they were like an immovable steel wall, easily slaughtering the Zhang clan's members as they moved step by step toward the lair. Roar! A roar of anger suddenly rang out. The terrifying existence inside the depths of the lair was finally awake. It roared as though it was transmitting some orders. Even the aboriginal elites weren't able to sit still. They finally acted. About half of them rushed out to provide reinforcements for their comrades. Now is the time. Upon seeing this, Feng Lin finally gave the order to act. He brandished his metal cudgel and aimed at the ceiling, launching heavy blows. A few moments later, the ceiling trembled as rocks fell down, piling up at the entrance. Yana and the others used their own techniques as well, resulting in the entrance being blocked completely. Damnable humans! You all actually had help from the inside. The Zhang clan's members outside howled wrathfully in their language. The paladin team was stunned when they saw this. A moment later, their expressions changed drastically. Not good, there must already be another team hiding inside. Let's kill them quickly, we cannot allow others to steal what we want. They are truly courting death. Those Zhang clan's members howled and rushed forward. The 5 members of the paladin team could no longer maintain their earlier relaxed attitudes. Their bodies glowed with holy light as they went all out, no longer holding back. Jiwei Jawawawa. Upon seeing 5 strange members of the same clan appearing and severing their clan members' path of retreat, these elites started mumbling as they rushed forward. Kill them all, said Feng Lin coldly. When the map is unrolled, the dagger is revealed. There was no need for them to hide anymore. The other team members tore apart their disguise and rushed towards the Zhang clan's elites. Humans, the elites shrieked in a shrill voice. War god giant statue. Eris's body expanded. Yana stood on the giant statue's shoulder as the 2 sisters joined the fight together. The giant statue's fists blasted out, sending the 2 Zhang clan's elites before them flying. Mind control. Ding, ding, ding. The golden scepter waved about. Yana was clad in golden armor and she transformed into a goddess, controlling the psyche of her targets. A moment later, the gazes of 3 Zhang clan's elites turned vacant and they actually started to turn on their comrades. For a time, the situation here was also extremely chaotic. You guys go first. Let us handle the situation here, said Yana. Feng Lin and the other 2 didn't hesitate, they took the chance to rush into the lair's depths. The 2 sisters grew up together and their cooperation was simply perfect like one entity. Eris was proficient in head-on power attacks while Yana was more of the control type, using her mental force to her advantage, hypnotizing other living creatures. One was the main attacker while the other played the supporting role. Their combat prowess doubled, allowing them to withstand the rush of the Zhang clan's elites. This was an extremely hard to come by opportunity. Indecisiveness would only spoil their plans. Feng Lin, Yi, and Suli bypassed the obstruction of the Zhang clan's elites and entered the depths of the lair. A stretch of red light then appeared in their visions. Numerous giant crystal pillars hung from the ceiling like stalactites. They shone with a brilliant red light and glimmered incessantly. Below was a stretch of red lake. The water here was as red as blood and had a bloody smell to it. Hua, hua, hua. Damnable humans, how dare you all barge into this king's domain? You all must be courting death. A hoarse and monstrous roar echoed. The lake's waters were split from the middle as numerous strange-looking silhouettes climbed out from the lake. The males were as malevolent as ghosts while the females were as charming and beautiful as demons. Why is the Zhang clan so similar to the Azura clan in the legends? Even the environment where they stay in is extremely similar. A thought flashed through Feng Lin's mind, but he didn't have time to ponder any deeper. Don't show mercy, kill all of these aboriginals, he commanded. Bang! A burst of power erupted out. Suli hoisted a gigantic silver gun despite his skinny frame. The quantum rays congregated into a ray bullet that shot out, causing a large number of Zhang clan's members to disintegrate. Golden Crow descent. Yi was wearing the micro mecha. He transformed into the most elite interstellar warrior and fired his arrows. A firebird directly manifested and swooped down from the sky before exploding, causing a large number of their enemies to be burned. Deathray Grenade. A prismatic grenade fell into the blood lake and exploded. Gray radiation energy instantly spread out. The Zhang clan's members couldn't escape in time. They could only scream in pain as their faces melted like ice and lie helplessly on the ground as their insides were fried. Although Feng Lin had no hatred with these aboriginals, he understood the logic of being kind to your enemies meant being cruel to yourself. Killing was also a type of mercy. Right at the start, Feng Lin already used his ultimate killing move, crushing these aboriginals to the point where they couldn't even fight back. His team forcefully opened up a path as they rushed into the depths of the blood lake. Boom, boom, boom. A powerful heartbeat like thunder rang out as the aura permeating the area grew increasingly terrifying. Hua! The waters parted once more as a throne made from blood-red crystals rose. A gigantic and muscular figure could be seen seated on it, shrouded in darkness. Only a pair of eyes filled with balefulness could be seen clearly, staring down at Feng Lin and his team members. Chapter 280, No Room for Retreat. The king's gaze was as sharp as word, capable of slicing flesh. The throne that was made from crystal had a monster completely clad in armor sitting on it. This monster seemed to have just awakened and was staring down imperiously at Feng Lin. This king of the Zhang clan was like the Azura king of the legends, born in the blood sea, bloodthirsty nature, aura as deep as the abyss, and pressure as heavy as empty tie. Feng Lin's team of 3 was instantly affected. Their bodies trembled from the weight of the pressure. What a terrifying vitality stat. It is definitely above 3,000. Even Feng Lin, who had the highest vitality stat among the 3 of them, was trembling. His vitality stat wasn't even 1/3 of this monster's. Regardless of their bodies or mental state, both were under great pressure. Act now, we cannot hold back. Let's eat the spirit explosion pill and unleash our full strength. Feng Lin knew that they couldn't hold back. He instantly made a judgment. Although the disparity was great, they couldn't feel fear now. If they continued waiting under such great pressure, they would lose their confidence to resist sooner or later. Yi and Suli also understood this. They took out the silver medical bottles and swallowed the medicine in there with no hesitation. The moment the genetic potion entered their mouth, it instantly transformed into a spicy warmth that flooded their entire body. Their throats burned as the potion flowed into their stomachs. Every inch of their bodies was in pain. It felt like there was a fire burning them from within. The spirit explosion medicine was as expected of a high-grade mid-martial genetic medicine. The energy contained within it was immense. The moment they swallowed it, the energy from within erupted forth like a volcano, wanting to make them explode by flooding them with power. It was precisely so that their vitality stat explosively surged. Feng Lin didn't know how much of an increase Yi and Suli had. But his vitality stat leaped, swiftly breaking through 1,000, 2,000, and finally stopping at 2,168. His vitality stat increased by 3 times. Right now, he had already crossed over to the Grand Cultivator realm and he couldn't be considered a weakling among them. All of Feng Lin's veins throbbed. He could feel his every cell twitching, entering a high-frequency state, unleashing all the power his body could muster. His qi and blood weren't gaseous and liquid any longer. They were now fire. Boundless energy erupted forth from him. Powerful, he was unprecedentedly powerful. Feng Lin even had the feeling that no enemies would be able to withstand a single one of his strikes. If one punch couldn't settle things, he would throw the second punch then. Sadly, it was just a feeling. The spirit explosion medicine had a time limit of 10 minutes. This also said that if the effect of the spirit explosion medicine was to disappear, Feng Lin would enter a weakened state for a prolonged period of time. He wouldn't be able to muster up any combat strength then. This short period of power contained immense danger behind it. 10 minutes, he only had 10 minutes. Despicable humans, how dare you all barge into my lair? Have you all thought clearly about how you want to die? The king sat on its blood throne, laughing coldly. His eyes narrowed into slits, so sharp that it felt as though his gaze could penetrate Feng Lin and his team members. It was as though he was looking at some ants who overestimated their strength. Feng Lin directly rushed over. With his explosive surge in vitality force, he discovered that the pressure emitted by his opponent was no longer so suppressive. His gaze locked onto a sphere-shaped blood-colored spirit crystal in the king's hand. There seemed to be water flowing inside the sphere. This was actually spiritual qi that was condensed into liquid, and the quantity was extremely shocking. Inside it, there was a tiny snake-like figure with horns on its head. It was bearded and had scales all over its body. It seemed to be a dragon and would occasionally let out piercing roars. Spirit crystal bead. Feng Lin was absolutely sure that that was their target. It was now in front of their eyes. As long as they could obtain this object, his team would become the number one in this exam and pass this round. The distance now was so near that he felt as though he could take it if he simply stretched his hand out. Even for Feng Lin, he was unable to maintain his calmness at this moment. Act now. He roared and took the lead in rushing forward. Yi and Su Li followed closely behind him. Great sage cudgel arts. Feng Lin's body expanded in size as he leaped into the air. His muscles tensed and he now resembled a giant ape wielding a metal cudgel. His back was arched as he summoned all the strength he could before heavily smashing down with his cudgel. The force was so great that the air exploded. A rumbling sound shook the area as sparks and lightning appeared. Triple Crow's descent. 3 arrows in a single shot. Each arrow was extremely quick. The friction caused by the air manifested flames as 3 firebirds swooped down from the sky. It appeared slow but was actually extremely fast. All the firebirds blasted the king at the same moment, causing the king to burst into flames. 6 tails loop. 6 giant tails appeared behind Su Li. It was like he had transformed into the 6-tailed demon fox of the Mount Qingqiu. With every movement, his tails would gather energy in the air. Each tail could manifest a different phenomenon. Tornado vortex, blazing shooting stars, ice spears, lightning balls, churning sand, darkness sphere. 6 types of energy rotated swiftly in the air, forming 6 rings that stacked together before blasting downward. Just after the king finished speaking his nonsense, he was surprised by the decisive attacks and was injured grievously. His roar contained towering rage, wanting nothing more than to burn Feng Lin and his team members into cinders. Detestable humans. How dare you all antagonize me? Die. 3 insignificant ants actually dared to initiate an attack on him. This was simply a humiliation to him. Blood sea surges. The king lifted his hand, and the water in the blood-colored lake churned wildly, forming waves over 10 meters tall that threatened to crash down on them. The water emitted a bloody smell, filling the area with an aura of filth. The attacks launched by Feng Lin and his team members actually sizzled out to nothing upon impact. Chi, chi, chi. Yi's micro-mecha armor was stained by a little blood. Even the tough alloy metals couldn't withstand the corrosion properties. It felt like he had fallen into aqua regia. The micro-mecha armor instantly sizzled as sparks manifested. This scene was shocking to the extreme. Yi and Su Li were both hurriedly running away. Feng Lin was the nearest. His clothes were corroded away, leaving holes in it. Even his tough steel-like skin was corroded through, and he felt a pain piercing in his nerves. Pay attention to how you are dodging. His face was filled with fear as he rapidly retreated. The waves of the blood lake surged forth again and again. Yi's micro-mecha armor emitted a load of sparks, crackling around him and spreading outward. He leaped into the air and fired an arrow with a unique spinning force. This arrow was like a drill, breaking past through the obstruction of the blood water, shooting straight for the vital parts of the king. Su Li erupted forth with demonic chi. He also leaped into the air and unleashed all his demonic techniques. Although the power of his techniques was low, the quantity of his attacks was plenty. His attacks were like shooting stars crashing downward, causing the blood lake to churn. In the midst of chaos, a gigantic silver gun was aimed at the king's eyes. The quantum ray gun then fired a shot. The power of the quantum ray gun was so high that even the king felt the pressure. He didn't dare to block it with his body alone. Blood crystal wall. His hands waved as those spirit crystals rapidly congregated here, forming a transparent barrier before him. All the energy impact slammed into the barrier, causing it to explode into pieces. The barrier had negated the damage, and the Zhang clan's king didn't suffer any critical injuries at all. Even level 5 equipment was unable to unleash its effects in front of the king. The difficulty of this situation far surpassed what Feng Lin had imagined. He had underestimated the strength of the Zhang clan's king, while also overestimating the power of the level 5 equipment. Although the killing might of level 5 equipment was immense, the timing to use them was extremely important. By fighting head-on like this, the opponent naturally would have enough time to react. Great Sage cleaving the mountain. The king's aura towered up the sky, but Feng Lin already had no room for retreat. His cudgel danced in the wind as he rushed forward, unleashing the violent strength in his body completely. He was so filled with power now that he wanted to turn the heaven and earth topsy-turvy. Raging blood waves. Waves after waves from the blood lake surged forth under the control of the king. They were as sticky as glue and spiraled around Feng Lin, flowing closer and closer. He felt like he had fallen into a swamp. His movements were slowed, and it felt like he wouldn't be able to unleash any more strength as his attacks only hit the air. The waves came one after another, each one more intense than the last. This was a gigantic area of effect attack. Yi and Su Li didn't dare to stay here any longer. They were trying their best to dodge. The king raised his arms like the devil king of the blood lake. The blood waters rose higher and higher as he laughed malevolently. He stared down at the 3 ants below him. These 3 were already in his palm. As long as he closed his fingers, they would be squashed to death. Ho! Feng Lin's body spun like a spinning top with increasing momentum. His metal cudgel rotated with him, drawing a giant circle that was impenetrable by the waves. He used brute strength to break free from the sticky effect of the blood waters. He transformed into a hurricane, and the absorption force he generated drew more and more of the blood waters over to him. The pressure on Yi and Su Li was greatly reduced and they found opportunities to retaliate. Bang, bang, bang. Yi's micro-mecha armor shot out over 10 guided missiles. Bzz. The bowstring twanged and the sound of a powerful army galloping forward rang out as arrows fell like rain. Each of the arrows contained a mysterious power. Demon fire blazed in the air. Wind, thunder, ice, all sorts of demonic techniques blasted forth like they were free of charge. Su Li tried to find opportunities to launch long-range attacks. The quantum ray gun in his possession had the greatest chance to heavily injure the king. shaman, demon, science and technology. 3 different types of power erupted forth, constituting an ultimate killing technique. However, the Zhang clan's king simply stood unmoving at his original location. It was like he had no intention to evade. He held the spirit crystal bead in his hand. The blood dragon within it roared as numerous blood-colored spirit crystals in the surrounding mountain walls flew over, forming an extremely powerful blood-colored armor that enveloped the king. All the attacks blasted into him, causing the crystals on the armor to shatter. But a few moments later, even more blood spirit crystals flew over. This armor was capable of self-repair. Blood control. Feng Lin and his team members didn't even have the time to be shocked. The king laughed maliciously and grabbed out in the air. Bat hump, bat hump, bat hump. Their hearts pounded violently like they were grabbed by an invisible hand. The pounding grew so fierce that it felt their hearts were about to leap out of their chests. Their chi and blood churned wildly and began to flow in reverse, causing their internal organs to crumble. The interior of a body would always be far weaker compared to the outside. Su Li was the first who couldn't take it. He coughed out blood, his fox mask was stained red. Yi's body was shaking, he couldn't even stand straight. Only Feng Lin was still on his feet. His face was pale, however, he depended on the powerful body of the spiritual stone monkey to resist this. But even so, he had to split a part of his attention to suppress his chi and blood from moving. His movements were thus greatly slowed. If he was in such a sorry state, then there was no need to talk about Yi and Su Li. They felt increasingly dispirited. It was already very good if they retained 30% to 40% of their original combat strength. How powerful! Feng Lin's heart sank to the valley. The extraordinary ability of blood control was unleashed to its greatest effect. It started from the inside to the outside. There was no way to block this. If Feng Lin didn't attack now to change the situation, Yi and Su Li would probably die soon from this attack. The blood lake churned. Many members of the Zhang clan could be seen within it. They were like Yikshas and Asuras from hell, rushing over like the tides, wanting to indulge in wild slaughter. They similarly had the ability to control blood. They caused their own blood to boil with energy as they rushed over in a crazy and ferocious manner. Su Li and Yi hurriedly evaded. They were in miserable states. But Feng Lin's situation was the most dangerous. The Zhang clan's king could also tell who was the strongest among the 3 humans. He placed most of his attention on Feng Lin. The waves of the blood lake surged forth again and again, wanting to drown Feng Lin. Every time his head broke the water's surface, another wave would crash down on him. It was tough for him to break free. Many black-colored figures with tridents could be seen in the waters. They pierced out with their weapons, wanting to penetrate Feng Lin. Feng Lin hurriedly held his breath. He dove into the lake and brandished his cudgel, starting a massacre. For a time, he was completely surrounded. The sounds of wild slaughter echoed out incessantly. Every strike unleashed by his cudgel would sweep out in great arcs. However, the life force of these Zhang clan's members was as tough as the Asura clan of the legends. If the blood seed didn't dry up, the Asuras would never die. Feng Lin shattered their bodies, but they could draw upon the power of the blood waters to regenerate themselves. They were like unkillable cockroaches that didn't know fear, constantly rushing at him. After he cleared one wave of monsters, another wave would rush over. They didn't know fatigue and didn't fear death. Their personalities were brutal and ferocious. Feng Lin couldn't hold back. He gave it his all, using all his strength to kill them. Each of his cudgel strikes was as heavy as a mountain, completely crushing them into pulps of flesh and blood. Only in this state would they not be able to revive. He had to break the structure of their bodies completely. But the strange thing was that after they died, their flesh and blood were absorbed by the blood lake, transformed into blood waves that enhanced the strength of the other Zhang clan's members. The blood lake granted them life, thus, it didn't matter even if they died here. The baleful aura flooded the entire area. It was extremely terrifying. Feng Lin unleashed the entirety of his strength with every strike. His physical strength was rapidly waning. If it wasn't for the fact that he had consumed the spirit explosion medicine, he would already have been completely drained. In truth, fatigue was beginning to creep in. He could feel his breaths getting shorter and shorter. Originally, the effects of the spirit explosion medicine could subsist for 10 minutes. But from the current consumption rate of his energy, he estimated that it would only last at most 5 to 6 minutes. And currently, over 3 minutes had already passed. Half of the allocated time was gone. They had to end things quickly. Feng Lin was clear that he was now in a deadly situation of unprecedented danger. If the medicinal effect faded away, they would no longer have any combat strength and would be like lambs for the slaughter. Also, the paladin team outside the lair was a factor as well, eyeing the king and them like how a tiger eyed its prey. Before them, there was a wolf. And behind them, there was a tiger. Feng Lin felt like they were sandwiched in. This was why the situation was so terrifying. There was no room for retreat. What they could do now was to slaughter out a path of blood. If not, their team of 5 would surely die here today. Feng Lin drew in a deep breath and expelled the putrid air from his body. His hands tightened on the metal cudgel as he stared at the malevolent figure seated on the throne. His heart was filled with resolve. This was it then. With their backs against the wall, they had to desperately fight with all they had, seeking a chance to live on.